ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, welcomes you live to Texas Motor Speedway, where we had hoped to bring you the Indy Racing Northern Light Series 5th event of the year. But because of rain, the race has been postponed until tomorrow. You can see it live on ESPN2 at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Let's go down to the start-finish line in Jackaroo.
Well, Bob, you can see the track conditions. They're still very competition. Brian Barnhart. Brian, now what's the plan?
Well, at least for now, anyway, we're going to cancel the race for this evening and postpone it till tomorrow at noon. We're still going to make an effort to try and dry the track tonight and get the teams out on track for a full tank session this evening.
Now, how much of a change will this make for things? You want to get that full tank session in tonight?
Well, I'd really like to, because that way, and there is weather forecast again for tomorrow, but if we can get it in this evening in a small window that it looks like it might be here, then if we get a window tomorrow, we can line them up and race them instead of line them up and practice them.
Bob, the last time I checked, that window in Terre Haute's too far away, so maybe they can import one from, like, Grapevine or something.
Well, it certainly has been a very strange couple of days here in this part of the world. It all began on Thursday night, shortly after the track opened for practice. We had a couple of accidents, and because of them, you'll notice now as these cars head for the wall, the left front lifts off the racetrack, indicating a suspension failure in the right rear of the car. It happened to both Davey Hamilton and to Jimmy Kite. At that point, the Indy Racing Northern Light Series officials decided to take a look at the suspension push rods in the right rear of the cars. They decided to postpone qualifying until yesterday. They had a short practice session yesterday. 17 cars qualified. Then the rains came, the entire session was washed out, and they will line up according to points. There was a practice scheduled yesterday afternoon, and it rained that out. So we have been plagued by rain here, but although the race has been postponed until tomorrow, for the next couple of hours, we invite you to stick around because we're going to show you highlights of the first 3 races of this year, plus have some live interviews interspersed throughout the evening. The weather was much nicer today in the Irish Hills of southern Michigan. That's where they held the third of 4 International Race of Champions events for the year 2000. The red car, third here in the picture, is driven by our own Eddie Cheever Jr. He went by Dale Earnhardt Jr. with 18 laps to go, and Eddie Cheever drove to victory this afternoon in that IROC race at Michigan Speedway. The final event of the year will be at the Brickyard in August.
Get a crack at all the NASCAR boys, his unique experience. I open invitation for them to come down now and play with us a little bit.
Congratulations to Eddie Cheever. He wins at Michigan.
Eddie Cheever joins us now live, and Eddie, just a few moments ago, Brian Barnhart was in the drivers' meeting with the mechanics and the drivers, and congratulated you. That was very nice. He also had some advice for you. Is that right?
You want to remind me that these cars don't have fenders, so Brian, I acknowledge that you'll have fenders on these. I'll be a good boy, but everybody should give me a wide berth for about 25 laps so I get used to it again.
You used all the track and all the car today, safe to say, at the IROC event.
I had a lot of fun, as I always do at the IROC events. It's very aggressive racing. We are going and racing in their cars and their sandbox, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a whole bunch. They're very tough racing drivers, and you don't hold back anything, and it's something very enjoyable.
We'll look forward to tomorrow's event as well. Obviously not going to run tonight, but talk a little bit about the race we hope to get in tomorrow.
It's a pity they didn't run today because obviously tens of thousands of people, probably close to 100,000, will be coming to see this race, and it's a pity that it got rained out on the first day, but I'm sure tomorrow will be just as nice. Hopefully we'll have a full tank session tonight, so we'll be ready to go. But this is definitely the second hardest race of the year for us. It's a very tough track. It's a great facility, and an Indy racing series is just so competitive that if you so much as blink, you get passed by 4 or 5 cars. So it's a very important race for us at Infinity. It's about time we won a race, so maybe I can do the same thing on Sunday that I did on Saturday. And I even had time to shave today, too, so it's a good omen for tomorrow.
What, clean shaven is a good omen? We'll see. Eddie Cheever won the IROC race today, and we'll look forward to him running again tomorrow at the Texas Motor Speedway.
There will be no race here tonight because of rain. See it live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow on ESPN2. Here's Jackaroo with the defending race champion.
And this race, Bob, is very important to one Scott Goodyear because it's the site of your last win. 12 months is a long time to go winless.
Well, it certainly is. We thought we had the 1-1 in the fall here, obviously, before we had that accident. But 12 months is a long time. It'd be nice to win this one so we could actually hopefully take the lead of the championship to the next race at Pikes Peak and then have a good, strong half of the season on the second half, because we didn't do that last year.
An abbreviated schedule with the 9 races this year. How important is it to make a stretch drive right now, not later down the road?
Well, I think every race is important to finish, and I think we really designated that earlier on with our Panther team. And a 4th and a 2nd and looked like almost a victory at Vegas, and then a 9th at Indy. At least we're collecting some points if we're not winning the races. And that's like I said, we have to do that in the second half of the season, where we didn't do it last year. We had some mechanical problems, a couple of crashes, and you don't get points, or very good points, when you're finishing at the back.
Scott Goodyear is not the only competitor in his family. In fact, his wife, Leslie, competes in equestrian events, and earlier today, Leslie scored a 2nd and gets to compete again tomorrow.
That's right. I'm very anxious to speak with her, actually. I have not had a chance. I've only had the message relayed to me. So she does the dressage. You know, I like to say that the horses look like they're drunk or drugged or something like that. And she did her first event in 2nd, so good luck for tomorrow.
So maybe the Goodyear family will have a 2nd and a 1st. When we come back, as we take a look at Victory Lane, we're going to meet Sarah Fisher and talk to her about Texas. As the seconds tick down to the command to start engines, the congestion on the starting grid dissipates. It leaves crew members reflective and drivers making the transition from being reactive to proactive. Inside the cockpit, they begin to think, like pole sitter Buddy Lazier, what they should expect and be concerned about at the start of the race.
Just bringing the field down to have a clean, safe start. And, of course, this track is aged. It's a little bit bumpier than it used to be. So, you know, you just want to get there. You want to be there at the end of the race.
Good luck today, buddy.
Been here all 3 days. His name is Tim McCann, and he's from Lake Dallas. He's one of you folks. He's going to give the command here and start these cars in just a moment. Tim?
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
For the first time this year, the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series is about to race on the high banks. Buddy Lazier's amazing drive from last to first put him in the winner's circle at Phoenix. And a runner-up finish at Indy have him atop the points. Others are hoping to turn their seasons around, like Greg Ray, who wrapped up the title here last year. But 2 misfortunes in the same spot on the racetrack in Indy have him concerned. 19-year-old Sarah Fisher made her debut here at Texas last year. Good runs this year, especially at Las Vegas, were halted by bad luck at the Brickyard. While Las Vegas brought a jackpot and first series win to Al Unser Jr., the bigger Indy prize went up in smoke. The defending winner of this race is Scott Goodyear, who can take a big step toward the championship with a good finish today. Just some of the stories at Texas Motor Speedway. ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, presents the 5th race of the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Lights Series, the Casino Magic 500 from Texas Motor Speedway. Qualifying was rained out. They will line up according to the points. On the pole is Buddy Lazier. And alongside in the front row is Robbie Buell. Row number 2, Scott Goodyear and Eliseo Salazar. The 3rd row, Eddie Cheever Jr. and Mark Dismore. Yesterday at Michigan Speedway, Eddie Cheever passed Dale Earnhardt Jr. with 18 laps to go, and Eddie Cheever won the IROC race. In the 4th row, Jeff Ward and Donnie Beechler. Row 5, Al Unser Jr. and Jared Schrader. The 6th row, Billy Vogt and Scott Sharp. Sam Hornish Jr. and Robbie McGee are in the 7th row. Row number 8, Stephen Gregoire and Tice Carlson. The 9th row, Greg Ray and Jacques Lazier. Row number 10, Buzz Calkins and Ayrton Daré. Daré actually got his start in racing on the water on jet skis. He's a 6-time Brazilian jet ski champion and still likes to play around on the jet skis when time permits. The 11th row, Robbie Unser and Davey Hamilton. 12th row, Jimmy Kite and Doug Dinero. Row 13, Sarah Fisher and Shigeaki Hattori. And in the 14th row is Billy Rowe. The rains are gone, and we are almost ready to go on what should be a different kind of racing than we've seen all year long. The banks here at Texas are more than twice as high as any place else we've raced on so far this year, Tom.
Well, no question. But this race is going to be momentum and extreme closing speeds. Now, unlike Indy, where you have long straightaways where you can plan and predict passing and traffic, here with short straightaways and that high banking you talked about, where you can't see very far around the corner, traffic comes up in a hurry, split second. So at home, if you got those spurs, you might put them on, dig them into the couch, because these cowboys are going to be standing up in the saddle.
There has been a concern regarding the racetrack in the last 4 days. With more on that, here's Vince Welch.
Between turns 3 and 4, there's the infamous bump. It's actually a dip in the racetrack, but at speed, it feels like a major speed bump for these race drivers. Some teams have changed to a stiffer spring and a stronger push rod and adjusted the ride height. When cars come through this area of the racetrack behind me, the drivers will be white-knuckling the wheel. The bump is so significant, it'll knock the wheel out of your hand and send you to the wall at 200 miles per hour. Jack Arute?
Vince, at the Indianapolis 500, Juan Montoya led 167 laps and used that positive track position to his advantage. He was able to come in and out of the pits without anybody blocking his way. Track position here at Texas is not as critical. Why? Because the track's wider, because of the high banks, and the emphasis upon the draft. But by virtue of his leading in the points, Buddy Lazier is able to pick a very important pit position. The end of pit road and the resumption of the no speed limit situation is only 10 feet from the end of his pit box. Bob?
Since the lineup reflects the points, you know where the drivers are, but you don't know how close they are. Lazier is only 26 points ahead. There is a tie for second position. Back in 6 through 10, Mark Dismore could have used the qualifying points. He was on the pole when qualifying was rained out, and of course the pole sitter gets 3 points, but no qualifying points were awarded here this weekend. 78 degrees, cloudy skies, but the rains have stayed away, and let's hope they do. Well, there have been 4 distinctive stories at the first 4 events of this season. At the opener, Robbie Buell drove to victory in a team put together less than a month earlier. At Phoenix, Buddy Lazier abandoned the chassis in which he qualified, went to a backup, started last and won. Al Unser Jr. benefited from attrition. He raced to his first victory since 1995 in Las Vegas. And just 2 weeks ago, everyone was impressed with the outstanding performance by Juan Montoya, who made it look easy. There are 27 contestants facing 208 laps of racing here. That's 500 kilometers. It is a 1.5-mile quad oval here in Fort Worth, and Scott Goodyear is the defending champion. The field comes down, and the green flag is out. Here we go at Texas Motor Speedway. And Scott Goodyear in the yellow Pennzoil Panther makes a nice move, and he races wheel to wheel and now takes the lead down the backstretch from Buddy Lazier. But Lazier draws alongside now at the end of the backstretch and tries to lead that first lap. Here comes Lazier off of the 4th corner, and he's going to lead the first lap of a race since the very first Indy Racing League event in Orlando back in 1996.
That was pretty much a horsepower move, because Scott had a run on him on the outside down the back straightaway. Lazier just powered by going into turn 3, Bob.
Eliseo Salazar now running in 3rd. That's Buell in 4th. Here comes Eddie Cheever in that silver and gray car up to the inside, battling wheel to wheel with Mark Dismore.
Eddie was fastest in the morning practice, so he's got the spurs dug in early.
That is Donnie Beechler on the high side of the track. We jump on board with Scott Sharp, who finds himself back in 9th position. Up front, meanwhile, Scott Goodyear dives to the inside of the racetrack on the 24 degrees of banking. And coming off the 4th corner, Scott Goodyear may have the lead. Yes, indeed, by just about a car length. Goodyear leads lap number 3.
What's interesting, both passes have been done on the inside of the racetrack. This early, you'd think the momentum would be up high, but the inside group seems like the place to be.
Scott Sharp's last lap was 209.595 miles an hour. Lazier, though, staying right on that rear wing as they come down to complete lap number 4. Lazier looks to the inside in the quad oval area of the track. Boy, they are wheel to wheel once again all the way through the corner. Lazier to the inside and Goodyear to the outside, and Lazier is going to take the lead back at least momentarily.
Well, again, the draft hasn't been that effective because they're running side by side, Bob.
Eliseo Salazar also very much a factor here. He has not been in the lead so far, but has stuck right with the lead two drivers, Goodyear and Lazier. Now Salazar begins to show some muscle in third.
And Bob, A.J. Foyt had so much confidence in the performance of Eliseo Salazar, he elected to stay here instead of flying to Michigan to see his Winston Cup car run today. Foyt says Salazar should come home the winner.
Salazar has had very good runs so far this year in the IRL and is in third position at the moment, staying very, very close. As a matter of fact, the first 5 drivers are within a second, and very, very good competition throughout the field as they battle for position. It is Lazier once again down the backstretch with Goodyear now looking to the outside. Salazar running third. Dismore, Buell, Beechler, Cheever, Ward, Sharp, and McGee are the top 10.
But again, with Buddy and Scott Dyson in front of them, it's blowing a pretty big hole in the air, and it should really help the guys in third and fourth come up and suck right up to them.
Now, once again, we see Scott Goodyear. There's Mark Dismore now coming up to challenge Eliseo Salazar for the third position, and Dismore goes to third. Dismore won the final race here last year at Texas Motor Speedway, recording his first victory in Indy Racing Northern Light Series competition. Now it's a 3-car battle. It's Goodyear, Lazier, and Dismore.
This could be a 500-kilometer trophy dash, Bob. This is pretty good stuff right here.
Still a major cloud cover here over the racetrack, preventing us from getting good pictures from the onboard cameras, but it sure is good, exciting, close racing here in the first 9 laps of the event. And we might also mention that the crowd is lower than it was anticipated. They had about 70,000 or more than that predicted for last night. Of course, it was rained out, and there is rain all over this area, literally here. But unfortunately, so far, the rains have stayed away from the racetrack. Now Dismore closes in on second place Lazier and looks for a high line as they head for one. And Dismore pulls alongside Buddy Lazier.
That's actually the first pass that's being attempted on the outside. Everything else early has gone to the inside. So Dismore has got to be hooked up.
Mark Dismore indeed has second position now. Ooh, I don't like that shot we just saw. There was some possible raindrops on the camera lens. The fastest car on the racetrack is Scott Sharp at 210.488. He's running in the 6th position. But the top 5 are staying very close, and now Dismore may take a shot at the lead as he comes in on Scott Goodyear. They're through corner number 3, and Dismore indeed does grab the lead as they come down to complete lap number 12, and Lazier to the inside of Goodyear for second.
Well, look at Salazar just packed right up. Those two are blowing the hole in the air, and enables Salazar, and Beechler's coming up in the black car, doing a great job.
Donnie Beechler right up there amongst them as Scott Sharp now comes up to his inside as they battle for the 5th position, and Scott Sharp takes that spot. But Beechler is staying right up there in the Cahill Racing Machine on board with Scott Sharp. He's in 5th now, running about a second behind the leader, Mark Dismore. This is the 3rd race this year that Mark Dismore has led.
Well, and it's close racing all the way back. You can see as we go back through on the lens there, everybody's just stacked up. Nobody's getting away from anybody.
Jack Arute has more on Mark Dismore.
Team Kelly and Mark Dismore sat down and decided that after the Indy 500, they needed, if they had any hopes of winning the championship, needed to start to score points. They were extremely disappointed when qualifying was rained out. They have sat down and determined that they are going to have to score a lot of points in every race if they hope to win the $1 million that goes with the championship.
There were 17 cars that qualified yesterday. Mark Dismore had the provisional pole, but then the rains arrived. That was on Friday, washing things out, and so, as we indicated, no qualifying points were awarded. But Dismore right now has the lead, but under fire from Buddy Lazier.
Well, again, it's going to be real tough for anybody to drive off because of the draft, because of blowing the hole in the air. The guys behind really can suck up. Even if the car isn't quite as good, they've got that momentum down the straightaway where they can keep in the draft and run right there.
The top 10 separated by 2.5 seconds. Just a great battle going on up front as Lazier moves to the inside of Dismore and tries to take the lead back. They'll come down to complete lap number 17 of 208, and indeed Lazier has the lead back. We've had 3 leaders in the first 17 laps of this event. Goodyear has led 6, Lazier has led 6, and Dismore has led 5.
Well, you saw there that Dismore had to roll out of the throttle just a little bit. He was up on the outside, but he had to roll out of the throttle just an ounce.
And Goodyear now in 3rd spot as Eliseo Salazar battles back and retakes it. Tremendous competition here in the opening laps of the IRL race at Texas Motor Speedway. Can you believe it? It is raining at Texas Motor Speedway, and the red flag has come out. The cars will stop here in the quad oval area of the racetrack. Boy, those first 20 laps were unbelievable, weren't they, Tom?
Well, give these guys a chance to catch their breath, and as well as the spectators, because there's some good stuff going on out there.
207.3 the average speed of the first 25 miles. Jack?
Well, the rain is really starting to come down now. I'm with Lee Koonsman, who is the team manager for the Delta Faucet Coors Light car for Buddy Lazier. You made some changes in the warm-up session this morning.
Well, we found the car had changed a little overnight. Or certainly, maybe not the car, but the racetrack had. But maybe a lot of that was due to the temperature of the track this morning. We made the change anyway because we felt that there was no radiant sun to deal with. So we actually tightened up the front of the car a bit.
And Lee, how about the tactics and the scenarios that you anticipate? You made some changes looking at the radar?
Well, it opens up a couple of new options, put it that way.
Like what?
Well, you have to keep in mind, say, 106 laps rather than 208 or 105, whatever the case is. But I think it changed your pit window to some degree that you had to be aware of. Not that you changed the overall strategy, but it leaves you another consideration. Let's say we make the 105 laps or whatever. Leaves you consideration watching the weather at that point and change your pit window so you don't have a second or third pit stop involved at 105th to go 105 laps. So it's something that it's just an added dimension that it's anybody's guesstimate the way the weather's been.
That's why pit strategy is always so fluid. And the word for the day for Mark Dismore may indeed be fortuitous, because this rain has afforded him an opportunity. He reports that his throttle is hanging up and it is sticking. So what they're going to do, as soon as the red is lifted, they're going to take some WD-40 oil and hopefully try to unstick that throttle, Vince Welch.
Well, not problems of that nature here with John Barnes and the Pennzoil Panther team of driver Scott Goodyear, the defending champion of this race. A little bit of push for Scott, but he made a nice move early on, and you guys are comfortable with this 5th place position.
Yeah, really. We're actually 4th. Sharp passed us after the red flag came out, or the lap previous. Reversed us back to 4th. But right now, what we want to do is actually follow, because out in front, it just takes too much more fuel to run the car, and so we'd rather sit back in the back. Maybe we can gain a couple of laps on the fuel mileage.
With the way the rain has been hampering us throughout the course of the weekend, obviously we're in a delay now. How has that changed the team's strategy as far as going the distance or looking at the halfway mark?
We looked at it. We get to the halfway part and see where it's at, and then we'll go from there. That's the way our strategy's been since we've been here. Try to figure out to get to the halfway point, be in the first 3 or 4 guys within 10 laps of that, and then go for it, and then see where things go, and then look at the weather.
John Barnes, one of the owner for the Pennzoil Panther team and team manager for Scott Goodyear. Goodyear in the number 4 car. He is the defending champion of the race, Jack Arute.
And Vince, this is an opportunity for some of the mechanics to not have to use the two-way radio to talk to their drivers. That's what Owen Snyder, the man right here, is doing with his driver of the Excite car, Eddie Cheever. Eddie, what do you say about this rain? I mean, this has just been plaguing us all weekend.
Rain, go away.
How about the performance of the car?
Fine. The car is running well. I'm not quite sure what Beecher thought he was doing in the first few laps, but we have a long race to go, and the pace is very fast. Cars are running very well, and we like to get on with the show. All this starting and stopping. The riskiest part of the race is always a start. Now we have to go through all that procedure again, and the cars are so close that it's like one big snake. There were like 6 of us trying to figure a way out. So
we were treated to probably some of the best racing we had seen in a very long time. Why is that? Is it the rules package, the track configuration, what?
I think it's the whole rules package of the IRL that allows a lot of parity between the teams and drivers, and the track here, they make us carry a lot of downforce, so it's pretty secure, even over that bump in the back. But when you're about 5 inches from somebody's gearbox turning into 1, you want to make sure he's in the right place, and there was a bit of swapping of positions there for a while. And what happens, you get an accordion effect. So these guys slow down, the guys in the back came charging through, and, you know, everything has to resettle itself. So it'll be a good, hard race. I just wish the rain would go away so we can get on with it.
Now, 24 hours ago, you were at Michigan International Speedway in the Irish Hills of Michigan. The International Race of Champions, and don't blow away now, Eddie. The wind kicks up, and you become the 36th different driver to win an IROC race, and it's been a long time since an open-wheel guy was able to go to victory lane. How'd you do it?
I really enjoy the IROC. I have a great time. The biggest problem there was tire wear. And for the life of me, I don't understand why everybody took that high line, because every time I was up there, I had to have 20 or 30 degree more tire in, so of steering in. And I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I know that if I have less steering, I'm going to use less tires. So my tires were good, and I was a little bit quicker off the corners, and I was lucky that Earnhardt and Martin were slugging it out. And I did slip one in. Sorry, guys.
He may not be, Vince Welch, the sharpest tool in the shed, but he may be the brightest light on the tree today.
Speaking of Sharp, Scott Sharp still in his cockpit, and he's hoping that this rain goes away. If Sharp would happen to win this race today, he would become the all-time winningest driver in the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series. Scott, you're running in good position here up toward the front. How has the start of the race treated you?
It's going really well, Vince. A lot of what I expected from the Delphi car. I knew we had a pretty good car. We were able to move from 12th to 4th, and we're just cruising at the moment. So tires look great, and car's right where we want it at the moment.
What was the key in moving from 12th to 4th in such a quick pace?
Well, the car's working well in multiple lines. I passed some guys on the inside, but I really passed a lot of guys on the outside, and I think we're going to be able to keep that up.
Talk a little bit about the bump in turn 4, and has it been an effect, or how has it felt as you've gone through it here in the early stages?
You know, the car's real consistent over that. It's not that big a deal. It's something you watch every lap, and you make sure you don't want to just, you know, have too much steering in the car when you hit the bump in case it threw the car a little bit, and you just watch yourself over there every lap, but it's nothing we haven't all dealt with before.
Scott Sharp and the Delphi machine running very smoothly here in the early stages, Bob Jenkins.
The cars have been released back to their pit areas, and now they can begin to work on the cars once they get there. Originally, they were here on the racetrack itself, but the track drying will commence now before too long. And please don't get the wrong idea. This is not by any means a soaking rain, so the track is not all that wet, and it does dry quickly. So we should be back to racing, hopefully, if no more rain in the next few minutes. Well, we look forward also to more IRL racing coming up next Sunday. It'll be in Colorado Springs at Pikes Peak International Raceway, and you can see it live on ABC at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. That's next Sunday on ABC. We will take a break and be right back with more from Texas Motor Speedway. We'll talk with Buddy Lazier, who's the current leader of this race, when we come back. Well, the rains have stopped. In fact, the sky brightening a little bit, so the track drying is underway here at Texas Motor Speedway. The leader of the race, and it's been a furious battle up front for the first 20 laps, is Buddy Lazier, who hails from Vail, Colorado. He's won the ultimate prize, the Indy 500. Now his other goal is the overall championship, and he's headed in the right direction. Here's Vince Welch.
In 1996, Buddy Lazier conquered Indianapolis with a broken back. He would win again the following season in Charlotte, but Lazier would not win again for almost 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. Through those 2 years, there were times we were leading and something happened. The car would go down, or I'd run into something, or, you know, it just didn't fall our way.
But in Phoenix last April, it did. Lazier stormed from last to first, breaking the dry spell and putting the Riley and Scott chassis into victory lane for the first and only time.
Phoenix just hasn't produced a lot of real fun memories for me, and this year going there, not qualifying well, withdrawing that car, starting dead last with that car, and then going from dead last to winning the race. It was just a major momentum turnaround for us.
While Phoenix was impressive, it's Indianapolis where Lazier has consistently shined, and this May was no exception.
Buddy Lazier, 2 car lengths behind Juan Montoya. Looked him like he wants to set him up, heading into turn number 1. Bang! He pulled out of the inside. The crowd goes crazy. He could not make it stick.
In Indianapolis 500, it's all about winning. 1996, when I won the race, my hometown, it threw a parade for me. This year, and in 98, when I took second, people ask, are you still racing?
His second place finish was his 5th consecutive top 10 at the Brickyard, and better yet, boosted him to the top of the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series point standings.
If we can finish the races, and if we can be as competitive as we have been, we have a very strong chance to win the championship, and that would be a wonderful thing for me. That's something I'd really like to do.
And the point championship certainly is on Buddy Lazier's mind, but right now as a jet dryer decides to blow right by us here, Buddy. Most competitive first few laps that we've seen in a long time.
Well, I think with the new rules, with the 3.5-liter motors and these new cars, it's all about the draft. You can't get away from the draft. So, you know, if you can work with guys and share the lead, that's probably the fastest way to go. But it's all about drafting right now.
So if you say you got to share the lead, is that what we were seeing with maybe some of the swapping back and forth?
Yeah, one guy'd get a run, you let him go, and then you'd get a run, and it's kind of fun, you know. And but yeah, you just can't get away from the draft. It's enormous. You pick up probably 100 RPMs in the draft.
Now, we were talking to Lee Koonsman when the rain first started coming down. With the concerns about the rain, you've got to start to look at the halfway mark of this race, maybe being a situation that comes into play. With a pit window at 50 laps, do you now take on fuel because we've run a few laps and maybe run that window a little longer further down the road?
Well, you know, it all depends. I mean, if you're committed strategy-wise for a shortened race, it'll go the whole distance. So I think we just got to adjust as we go and count on it going the distance. This is probably it now, I think.
Okay, he likes that, Vince Welch. By the way, guys, some of the teams are gambling. They're taking on fuel here on pit road. That says to me that we're going to have some scenarios unfold near the halfway mark. Vince?
Well, Robbie Buell's team not putting fuel in the car just yet, but making some adjustments as Robbie started second, currently in the 12th position. Anything significant during the course of those early stages that caused you to go back, Robbie?
No, I mean, we seem to be just losing a little bit off of 2, so we'll make some subtle adjustments, but it is a long race. We're happy with where we stand with everything in the Purex car. We just got to make sure we're not losing. When you just lose a little bit here and a little bit of momentum, it can hurt you.
When you're talking about making adjustments under a red flag situation, is it better to be able to come in and make those adjustments now, or are you better to just make those during the course of the races during their normal pit stops?
You probably could argue it both ways. For us, this is good. We can take a look at everything. We'll make some adjustments, look at some of the data, and you know, hopefully it's going to dry quick and we'll be back out soon.
You mentioned a long race, but chances are this may not be a long race. It could be a halfway type of a race because of the weather we've experienced. How does that change your philosophy in that regard?
Well, you always want to do the whole distance, but, you know, you're right, that may be something, so we'll make some adjustments and hopefully we'll get going forward where we're not losing that little bit out there right now.
Hopefully we'll be able to get out there and go forward for Robbie Buell here shortly. Jack Caroots.
Well, Vince, remember we were telling you Mark Dismore was experiencing some throttle problems, throttle seeming to lock up a little bit. That's what the crew's doing at the nose section of the car. Literally right now, they've got a very small bungee cord. They've tried to add some lubricant to it. And Bob Jenkins, now they're going to try and introduce a bungee cord. Where would we be without duct tape and bungee cords in racing?
Anything to get the car running properly. Track drying underway. When we come back, we'll talk to Brian Barnhart, the director of racing for the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series. Back at Texas Motor Speedway, the red flag is out because of a light shower that has passed over the track. Eddie Cheever and Scott Goodyear talking over those first 18 laps and how good they were. And we're going to shoot the breeze here with Brian Barnhart, the director of racing for the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series. And before we talk about the rain, you came in here with a smile on your face. And, well, you should have, because those first 18 laps were awesome.
Well, I think when I walked into Indy, I think I said those 18 laps were fun. So I'm looking forward to the remainder of them.
This has been an all too frequent interview that we've done with you this weekend with rain and whatnot, but this was not a heavy shower. What do you anticipate as far as track drying is concerned?
Yeah, you're right. It was not a lot of rain, and I wouldn't expect us to be down much more than about 45 minutes. So it should be quick, and we'll get them back out and hopefully be entertained some more.
What can they do during this red flag period as far as the car is concerned?
We got them across the start-finish line, locked in the timing and scoring, and we've released the cars back to the pits or the garage area, and they can do any work they want to do, including fuel and tires.
Including fuel. So that's a very important thing, because here at this 20-lap point, it may cause a significant situation as far as the outcome of the race is concerned.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for us when we restart. We'll go green flag third time by, and everybody be fresh and ready to roll again.
Brian, this has been a tough weekend. Not only the rain that we've been plagued by, but the bump down in turn number 4. I'm sure it's one of those weekends where you say, man, I'll be glad when this thing is finally over.
Yeah, needless to say, I'm looking forward to Pikes Peak next weekend. So, but it's been a good race so far, and if we can continue at this pace, it'll be well worth it.
Let's hope we can get it in here. The skies are looking much brighter, and we should be back to racing before too much longer. Let's go down to Jackaroot. Thanks,
Hey,
Brian.
Bob, when it's raining, here's what a lot of drivers do. They used to call this bench racing. But right now for Scott Goodyear, Mark Dismore, and Eddie Cheever, I think they're comparing notes from what had to be some of the most spectacular 18 laps that we've seen since the last time that the IRL was at the Texas Motor Speedway. Scott, pretty exciting stuff so far.
Almost like Winston Cup, I guess, isn't it, huh? Except we don't have fenders. Actually, we're just sitting here chatting. I didn't think we realized we still got about 190 more laps to go. So if pace stays like that for a while, it'll be interesting to see how it all holds out.
How hectic is it? You've won here before. How hectic is that kind of a pace on a driver? Do you like it?
Well, it's fun as long as it's clean, and it seems like it's clean out there right now. The draft right now with these 3.5-liter engines plays a huge part, more than it did last year. And last year, if you're out leading a little bit, you could actually maybe pull away. But right now, you get out, you lead, and you lose your RPMs, and you're sitting duck. So right now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens for the last 10 laps here.
So the draft is the most important aspect of winning this race today?
I would say so. Number one, obviously, being there at the end, but absolutely the draft, and hopefully you placed yourself in the right place. And, you can go in the high side, low side, or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of side-by-side right now, and that might just go 3 abreast when it comes time for it.
If you have watched a Winston Cup race, the draft has been there at Daytona and Talladega and places like that, but it's a lumbering type move. The car breaks through a giant wall of wind. In the IRL competition, the draft is a lot different.
Drafting is using the guy in front of you's air. Imagine somebody opening the air, just driving into this big hole. You have 2 choices. Either you will run with the leading pack, even if your car is not good, and you can have like 20 or 30 laps where your hair is standing up straight because you're barely hanging on, or you can back off and they'll just disappear out of view. And if you come here to win, you have to be able to hold the draft regardless of how your car is working.
What we're looking for is to come up behind a vehicle that's breaking the wind for us already, allows our car to go through the air easier than it would do if we were doing it by ourselves, and then to slipstream out from that car and carry our momentum past the car, make the pass, and then get into the turn before he does.
Even in the corners, you can run your nose right under somebody's gearbox and get them coming off the exit. Where at other racetracks, you have downforce, but once you get close to them, you get in a draft that you lose your own downforce. And so on flatter tracks, you don't have enough artificial weight pushing the tires into the ground to keep control. So here, you can run flat out right under somebody's gearbox.
If it all works perfect, it goes great. If you mistime it, it can be a bad thing.
Well, you heard him. If you mistime it, that's the whole key. It's momentum and that closing speed. And again, they can't get away from each other. It's going to make it fun to watch through the distance of this race, Bob.
I think maybe Brian's estimate of 45 minutes may have been long because the track is drying very, very quickly, so maybe we will go back to green before that. We'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway, the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. 20 laps into this event, and we do have a red flag currently because of a shower. However, the track is drying very, very quickly. Tice Carlson is the driver of the Hubbard Racing Dallara. He right now is shown back in 25th position, but Vince, some changes on that car?
Well, I tell you what, the red maybe couldn't have come at a better time for the Hubbard Racing team. They missed on the gears out completely, and Tice Carlson believes he'll have a better race car when you get back out there this time around.
Yeah, I really do. In high gear, we're hitting the rev limiter in the draft at the start-finish line, so it's slowing us down quite a bit. If you ever have to get out of the throttle at this place now, you're going to lose 20 car lengths and get passed by 2 cars, and everybody's in the same boat out there. Everybody has to learn how to draft here. Maybe we learned a little bit by watching Eddie at that rock race yesterday.
You crashed at Indianapolis and suffered a concussion and were not able to run in that event. This is your first race since then. How are you feeling, and has it been any different for you in the traffic situations?
It really has. You know, we've got one car now, and we've got 2 races in 1 week. I'm out there running as hard as I possibly can, but I'm not going to put ourselves in a situation where we're going to end up in the wall with either me or with another car. So when the opportunity comes to pass, I'm going to pass. But let's get it straight. I'm not going out there to finish last either.
That's Tice Carlson. He'll look to be making his way toward the front as the race resumes, and we'll go to Jack Arute.
Vince, here's the understatement of all time. I asked Mark Dismore if he was having fun, and his answer was?
As long as the car's handling, I'm having fun. And we made a couple of small changes here, and I actually made some changes on the track with the sway bar and the weight jacker. And, you know, the trick's keeping the car under you in traffic, and there's plenty of traffic right now.
Now, we had the report and saw your team working down on the throttle linkage as well. Some of the wiring and some of the other stuff that has to go in the front of the foot box got in the way just a little bit.
Throttle was sticking on me. They think they've got it handled, but there's a bind where the cable goes behind the false panel in the carbon. And it never did it in practice, naturally. It never does. And then I got in that and got ready to go racing, and the throttle was sticking. So.
Now, what does it mean to a driver when your crew chief comes up to you and says, we think we fixed it?
You know, the trick's going to be the pit stops. You know, I guess on the track you can pull it back with a tow strap. I think we're okay. I mean, the guys wouldn't send me out there if it wasn't okay. But it was a little bit of a gray area there. But I mean, I'm okay. They feel good about what happened. So.
Okay, Mark, they're calling you to your car. Bob, the key is not necessarily out on the racetrack with a throttle sticking. The key is during at least 3 pit stops. That's when you're fully depressed on the throttle and you have to back it back off. He talked about a toe strap. Literally what that is, Tom, as you know, is you got to kind of put your toe underneath the throttle and try and pull it back up.
Yeah, well, that's a safety item, but based on what I saw in those first 18 laps, I'm not sure he knew the throttle was sticking until the yellow came out, because I didn't see him lifting.
Well, no, that's exactly the case, and the concern, not out on the racetrack, it's during those pit stops.
Obviously, you got to get the car to settle down the motor to get down to an idle situation when you're in the pits, and but I'm sure they probably figured out where the problem is, and it hopefully won't be a problem.
I'll quickly go down to Vince Welch as the cars are being lined up for the restart.
One of the bright young stars of this series is Ayrton Dare. And Ayrton, you started toward the back because of points in the way they lined up. It's been an adventuresome early going for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to work our way up to the first positions. But we got a lot of push on the entry of the corner. We're having a little bit problem with the motor too. I think we made some changes and we'll be all right. And I got screwed up with one driver that put me on the grass twice. But it'll be all right. I mean, by the end of to the end of the race, we try to go up to the front.
What kind of adjustments have you made with the race car during this red?
We had problem turning into the corner. I lose all the front grip on turning, so we try to put more wing, we try to use the weight jacker, put more left front weight, and raise the rear a little bit. So everything to get front grip on the entry.
Adjusting the weight of the car is one thing, but having to run through the grass is something completely different. And I know Ayrton Dare, none of the other drivers want to take that route, Jack Arute.
Yeah, Vincent, one driver that is getting his first exposure to Texas Motor Speedway, and that's hard to believe, is Al Unser Jr. What do you think of this Texas-style draft?
Well, I tell you, I knew it was going to be big, and you can see, I mean, we're part of the lead pack. That's awfully good. The car's running good, and we were just getting to a point where you could see the handling start making a difference because the tires are so fresh and they're so good. And so, you know, as it unfolds, we'll start to see what happens.
How much of an equalizer is the draft, Al? How much can the car be off and you still be competitive?
Well, the banks are really helping it more so than anything as far as the car being off. The draft is helping us get up and keeping it a pack for sure. But most of it's really the banking, you know. Yeah. I mean, that's what helps it.
24-degree banking. They call it a giant slant, Bob Jenkins.
All right, Jack. Well, they tell us that we could be racing here within the next 5 minutes, so let's hope so. The drivers are now going to their cars. They're being lined up on the high-speed lane of the pit, and we should be going back to racing here before too long. Well, tonight, Sunday Night Baseball presented by Gum Out. Coverage begins with Baseball Tonight presented by Pep Boys at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Year 4 of interleague play features a fierce crosstown rivalry between the Yankees and the Mets. Sunday Night Baseball tonight. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. Let's go back down to pit lane and talk with Donnie Beechler.
Yeah, and he cut his teeth. He told me a story earlier today. His first sprint car, he built a wing out of 2x4s.
Yeah, it was 2x4 and galvanized.
Well, you've come a long way, Donnie. This is a very good racetrack for you. You led for a while last year. What is it about Texas that makes your style so good?
I don't know if it's the banking or what, but I really like these high bank tracks. They just kind of fit the sprint car style.
Yeah, I'm amazed because you cut your teeth on the dirt tracks. How do you make the two mesh?
I don't know. I can't find a cushion out there to save my life, but it's good. I mean, we got a pretty good race car today, and if the weather cooperates, we'll get this thing in.
Donnie Beechler captured the imagination, Bob, of a lot of people last year when he led this race, and they coined the nickname for Donnie Beechler. They now call him Big Daddy.
He led 26 laps here last year and currently is in the 7th position. There is the way that they will restart. We have completed 20 of the 208 laps. It's Lazier, Dismore, Salazar, Sharp, and Goodyear in the top 5. We'll take a look at the rest of the running order. There you see Greg Ray hasn't moved up much. He started 17th, is currently in 16th position. Davey Hamilton back in 20th. And we just talked a few minutes ago with Tice Carlson. He will restart from the 21st position. Back with more from Texas in a moment. Drivers have been ordered in their cars. You see Mark Dismore there is already in with his helmet on, but Buddy Lazier on the right of your screen is suiting up and will soon be getting into his Delta Faucet Coors Light Tybo Dallara, and we should be resuming here in just a few moments. Red flag came out. 20 laps have been completed. Jack?
Well, sometimes the computers can help a driver, and that was the case with Buddy Lazier and his car. During that caution, they decided, Ronnie Dawes, the crew chief, decided that they would change the mapping system just a little bit on the car. Now, what they do is they reload a program into the ECM, the Electronic Control Management Unit, and what they've done is they've changed the throttle response on Buddy Lazier's car. Vince Welch, that means that what Buddy was talking to us about before is he wants a little more pedal when he drops it to the metal. Vince?
Greg Ray's looking for a little more pedal to the metal as well. Started back in 17th, up just one spot to 16th. Has the early going been okay for you? You wanted to make a quicker charge?
Yeah, the car is okay. I mean, it's definitely going to be a big drafting duel out there today with these 3.5-liter engines. You just can't go blowing by somebody like you could last year with the 4-liter engine. So it's definitely going to be a race of patience, and track's a little different, and it's going to make passing critical, but you're going to have to be careful. So it's going to be a tough race all day.
First time all season you've started outside of row 1. How has that perspective been for you here in the early stages?
Well, I've been there before, and I prefer to start up front.
I bet you do. We'll look for him to go to the front as the race progresses. Bob Jenkins.
Well, Greg Ray is trying to turn his season around, but he really is in not a whole lot better shape or worse shape than he was at this time last year. In 1999, before this race, no wins, no top 10s, 20th in points. After this race last year, he had 3 wins and wound up as the champion. Now, this year, he has just 1 top 10, is 17th in points, just a little bit better than last year, but still, Greg Ray, who is in 16th position currently, needs to turn his season around in order to successfully defend his championship. The cars are still silent. However, they are just about ready to roll once again and resume this 208-lap event here at Texas Motor Speedway. Well, the first few laps were unbelievable. We saw some great competition, great battling. Watch here at the start of the race. From his inside second row position, the yellow car is Scott Goodyear right through the middle. And he comes up to battle with Buddy Lazier. Then on the third lap, Goodyear was able to get a run through the corner and take the lead from Lazier. On lap number 5, the two were still doing battle, and Lazier was able to grab the advantage back from Scott Goodyear. It's been a great wheel-to-wheel battle between those two. Then in the 12th lap of the race, Mark Dismore made his presence known as he came up and passed Scott Goodyear for the lead. That's when we began to see some light rain falling. Lazier came up and retook the lead from Mark Dismore on the 17th circuit of the event. And shortly after that, guess what happened? The rain started to fall, causing the red to come out, and that is where we are at the moment with the race almost ready to resume.
Well, what was interesting, I think we put some silence to the concern about the bump. A lot of the passing was coming down low. Now, the bump is supposed to be worse on the bottom of the racetrack as compared to higher on the track. We saw a lot of passing down low. I don't see any concern with the racetrack at this point, Bob.
And I don't think we have any concern about the dampness of the racetrack either, because the sun is shining and drying up the track quickly. So we are going to get a restart here, and we're told about 30 seconds from right now. Lazier, Dismore, Salazar, Sharp, and Goodyear are the top 5. Jack?
And they have just given the command to start engines. Aliseo is now trying to hit the throttle. Can you run with these guys?
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty wild up there, but I think we have the car, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Aliseo Salazar, the lead driver, at least for now, Vince Welch, on A.J. Foyt's team.
Donnie Beechler currently running in 7th position. A couple of the drivers out on the track had complained about Beechler and his movements on the racetrack during the course of those early laps. Beechler himself was not happy. In fact, with his spotter, they've made a spotter change during this red flag. So Beechler will have a new person up helping guide the way for him during the course of these rest of the laps. And we'll see if his consistency of the line gets a little better as well.
And Vince, we've got a little bit of a problem with Buddy Lazier. Actually, the visor on his helmet started to come loose. They've gone for an adjustment. They just finished it. Now Lazier is back in the cockpit and a little more calm.
Well, you heard him talk about spotters. I'll tell you what, I'd hate to be a spotter at this track because things happen in a hurry, and for a spotter to keep up with all the action that we're seeing, boy, good luck.
Well, the pace car begins to move away now. Now they will go 3 laps before getting the green flag, and the laps will count. There are 2 cars missing from the lineup here on pit road. Number 43, Doug Dodaro, and number 30 car, Robbie Unser, are not in the lineup. We were red for 36 minutes and 48 seconds, so Brian Barnhart's estimation of a total of 45 minutes was pretty accurate. But now, as the cars begin to move away from pit road here on the main straightaway, we anticipate a green flag in 3 more laps.
Bob Jenkins, Buzz Calkins' car did not fire either, and now they've got it fired. And what the problem was is because Calkins' car stalled after initially being started, there was a traffic jam, and they were trying to get other cars around Calkins. Finally, he has gotten fired up. Ayrton Dare's car has not fired, however, and they're working on it feverishly in the pit lane.
Boy, the 19 car of Billy Rowe there at the back of the field. Some smoke seen from that car, Tom.
Yeah, there really was. I mean, more than normal. You might see him load up a little bit when they shut him down, and with all the moisture in the air, that could be some of the problem. But that was a little more excessive than I'm sure Billy was hoping for. Good news is Billy couldn't see all that action, so he's not nervous at this point.
This is the Logan Racing Special, owned by Dr. Jim Logan, who is a chiropractor in the St. Louis area, and he is the first African-American owner in the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. He has been hanging around the short tracks and racing for many, many years and has been dreaming about having a car in this series, and it's all coming to fruition here this weekend. And Billy Rowe is making his first start in this series in 2 years. He does have 5 starts in the series. He did race here at Texas. In fact, that was the last time that he did race, was here in 25th and finished 20th. Well, if you're just joining us here at Texas Motor Speedway, we're just about at 1 o'clock local time, 2 Eastern, and we're getting set to resume this race here at Texas Motor Speedway. Rain brought a halt to things, but now we're set to go once again. The leader is Buddy Lazier, Mark Dismore running second, followed by Eliseo Salazar, Scott Sharp, and Scott Goodyear. Eddie Cheever Jr., Donnie Beechler, Jeff Ward, Al Unser Jr., and Sam Hornish complete the top 10. We have all cars still on the lead lap that are out there, but Dodaro and Unser are missing.
Well, we heard some concerns about the fact that he couldn't find the cushion. The cushion here is those 24-degree bank turns, Bob.
Down to Vince Welch.
The problem with Ayrton Dare and the fact that he could not get the car started was not a problem with the car. It was a problem with the starter. The battery of the starter was actually dead, so they just had to get a new starter, plug it in, and the car fired right up. Good news for Dare.
Pace car is pulling off the track. This is a new rule in this series this year. The pace car leaves the track in just as the 1 lap to go signal is given, and so the of Buddy Lazier, the leader.
And in fact, that was one thing that Tom Kelly noticed, and he went to his driver, Mark Dismore, and says, now make sure you stay right on the gearbox to Lazier.
Here they come, accelerating now through turns number 3 and 4.
Well, the track should be dry. It shouldn't be a problem, but it could be a little bit cool because of the rain, and we'll just see how that affects these guys.
Here we go. Green flag is out once again. Scott Goodyear and Scott Sharp side by side as they head for turn number 1. Lazier takes off down the backstretch and separates himself by about 4 car lengths, and Eliseo Salazar wants to make a move on Dismore for second. Oh, they're wheel to wheel once again through the corner, and Eliseo grabs second spot.
Well, Dismore gave him a little bit of room. It's way too early to be boxing that hard in that side of the ring, Bob.
And now the Kelly cars run side by side, but Scott Sharp takes over the 3rd position from Mark Dismore. That's Goodyear, followed by Cheever, then Beechler, then Ward, and they continue to battle it out down the backstretch. That's Jeff Ward now making move the inside of Beechler. We're on board with Jeff in the Harris AJ Foyt G-Force.
Well, you can see the momentum, the draft. There's Al Unser on the outside going by Ward. Again, if your momentum gets killed, just everybody drives by you.
And that's Sam Hornish also passing by Jeff Ward. So Ward is going to drop out of the top 10 here. Up front, meanwhile, Eliseo Salazar challenged for the lead with Buddy Lazier.
Well, you heard Salazar talk about how it's been pretty wild up there, but he thought he could run with them.
Salazar coming off an excellent performance at the Indianapolis 500. He started 3rd and finished in 3rd position. 4th in the point standings. He moved up 3 spots because of his performance at the Brickyard. Now he goes to the outside of Lazier, as there's also a battle back there for 3rd position. But Salazar is unable to make the pass at the moment. They come down and complete the 27th lap of the race.
Salazar's a little quicker. He's just got to try to find a way to get by. Now, the quickness might be the draft, but he's running side by side a little bit. So even without the draft, I think Salazar is maybe just an ounce quicker than Buddy right now.
The fastest car on the racetrack that last lap was the 3rd place car of Scott Sharp, who ran a 2:10.649. The leader of the race, Lazier, ran a 2:09.1, so about 1.5 miles an hour faster. And Salazar now makes another challenge as he heads for the high side of the racetrack, but Lazier may have the advantage down low.
Well, the reason Sharp is a little quicker is those two are running side by side, blowing that big hole in the air, and Sharp takes advantage of that.
Salazar still unable to get by. They come down, and it's a 4-horse race. Oh, I'm not sure who led that lap. That was a photo finish, so to speak, as far as who led the lap, and the Kelly cars run side by side. On board with Scott Sharp, looking ahead to Salazar on the right and Lazier on the left, and to Scott's right is his teammate Mark Dismore.
The only person nervous is the owner, Tom Kelly, right now.
Scott Goodyear lurking back there in 5th position, keeping them in sight. On board with Dismore now. Now Sharp.
I mean, just side-by-side stuff. They're just all bunched up. I mean, nobody's getting away from anybody, Bob.
And behind Scott Goodyear comes Eddie Cheever, and he makes his presence known.
Well, Eddie did a lot of practice drafting on the test sessions. The test sessions were cut back a little bit because of the weather, but Eddie used most of that practice time to run in traffic.
Now they approach some of the slower traffic. That is Billy Rowe in the black car. Everybody quickly by him.
Again, Billy, that's a couple-year-old car, and this is a new outfit, just trying to cut their teeth.
There's Cheever, who has taken over the 5th position from Scott Goodyear. Cheever in the excited home, Delara. Meanwhile, up front, it's still Salazar trailing Buddy Lazier, and Salazar was given credit for leading the lap in question a few minutes ago. Now he mounts another challenge to the high side of the racetrack.
Well, on the rain delay, we talked to Al Unser Jr., and he talked about when the tires are fresh, everybody runs pretty much flat out. It takes a few laps, and we'll start to see who's got the balance and who's got the handling package that will maintain a front position.
Coming up on some slower traffic now, that's Jimmy Kite, who is running in 24th position. We're eavesdropping on Lazier's radio. There's Jimmy Kite being lapped here in the 35th circuit of the race.
Well, Jimmy was one of those that crashed their 2000 car on the bump incident in practice, and they had to go to a 99 car, and again, the 99s just aren't quite as good as the 2000 package.
Now Cheever comes up to challenge Dismore for the 4th position. Al Unser Jr. is also there as he looks outside of Cheever. Down the backstretch they come, and again you can see the draft playing a part. Al Unser with a good run up on the top side of the racetrack, and you can also see that bump when the cars go through it in turn number 4.
All the teams have done a good job to adapt their cars to the racetrack, and that's part of the deal. Any racetrack you go, you've got to adapt the car to the racetrack you've got delivered to you.
The first 6 cars are running within a second of each other. There they are, dicing it out for position. This is Scott Sharp, who looks ahead to Salazar and Lazier.
Outside. Yeah, you could see him when they went over the bump. You can hear the motor actually change pitch a little bit, and the hands wiggle.
Oh, wow. Nice move by Dismore, who went to the outside of his teammate, cut down low. He takes 3rd position, and Scott Sharp loses 4th position to Cheever.
I'm not sure Sharp thought it was a nice move by his teammate right there.
It scared me. Now Unser is up on high of the racetrack alongside of Scott Sharp.
Well, again, Little Al's won at really knowing what the car's going to want as the race develops, and you can see him. He's moved forward since the rain delay.
It's his first appearance at the Texas Motor Speedway. Up front, 3 cars. On the move, Al Unser Jr. has moved up now to the 5th position. Fastest car on the racetrack last lap, however, was Robbie McGee, and he has been the fastest for the last few laps. He's running back in the 10th position, but up front is where the action is. Here's Mark Dismore once again running 3rd.
Well, and it's interesting. Salazar really isn't using the draft very well off of Buddy's car. He sort of got himself half split out, and he's not going to get a big run on Buddy if he doesn't try to use the slingshot maneuver.
And how about the Infinity Indy engine for Eddie Cheever, now running in the 4th spot. There are 2 Infinities in the field here at Texas Motor Speedway, as Robbie Buell has also gone to the Infinity. Buell is currently in the 11th position. Well, there they are, folks. The top 5 drivers running right together, and back to 7th place, only 1.3 seconds. Buddy Lazier continues to show the way. He's led 29 laps so far. Al Unser Jr. tries to take away the 4th position from Eddie Cheever, and as they come down at the end of the backstretch, they go through the corners side by side.
Well, this is good stuff. I mean, they're all looking for that little hole in the air that somebody in front of them is trying to provide, but, you know, it's just so tight.
Well, we're going to have to take a break. Buddy Lazier, the lead of the race. Salazar is 2nd, then Dismore, Cheever, and Al Unser Jr. Back with more in just a moment. The furious battle continues at Texas Motor Speedway. 11 cars running right together on the racetrack, and look who is challenging for the lead. It's Al Unser Jr. to the high side of Buddy Lazier. They come off of corner number 4 at the line. Oh, I think maybe Unser led the lap, but it was really, really close.
Well, when they're side by side like that, the guys from behind should be able to pull a big draft and get some momentum. Look at who. Oh. Way up high.
And Unser is going to go into the... No, he's still... Yeah, he is in the lead. Buddy Lazier drops back to 5th spot. Wow, I wondered what happened up front, but Lazier just dropped all the way back to 5th as Unser now has the lead.
Well, it's that momentum thing. Buddy had to roll out just a little bit, and 4 guys just get him, just that quick.
Al Unser Jr. in the ECR Gallus Racing Tickets.com Stars On-Course Super Pack G-Force had a disappointment at Indianapolis. He started 18th and finished 29th. He remembers, though, that he can win in this series because he won at Las Vegas. And right now, he's at the front of the field.
Bob, they're very happy with the race car, obviously. At the red flag, Unser was sitting 9th. He's already picked up those 9 positions here in just the several laps since we've gone green again. But he says the race car is absolutely perfect. At least it's been perfect in the past. Up front.
Well, you can see Salazar's maintained that second spot. So with all this shuffling, Salazar's been able to stay right there.
8 official lead changes so far. Buddy Lazier has led the most laps, but now Al Unser Jr. is in front. Down the backstretch, speeds last lap at out 210 miles an hour. And running in 5th position is rookie Sam Hornish from Defiance, Ohio. And this young man also has been very, very impressive at some times during this season. Meanwhile, 2nd position is under contest as Scott Sharp and Salazar go wheel to wheel.
But how about Hornish in that white car? I mean, that's the PDM team. They don't have the budget that those 5 guys in front of them have. I'll guarantee you that much.
Sam way up high on the racetrack, almost 3 abreast there. He's running alongside Mark Dismore. There is Lazier, who's beginning to come back up through the field. He's now in the 3rd position, or trying to get 3rd, from Salazar.
I mean, this is just great stuff. Right behind Hornish and the white car is the other point car. Jeff Ward has worked his way back up through there.
Just about a 4th completed now. Al Unser Jr. crosses the line and completes the 53rd lap of the race. Look at the fastest that lap.
Well,
it
again,
was Goodyear.
Yeah, and look, he's back in 7th, 8th, 9th spot, but because of the draft, he's probably getting a bigger toe and therefore running a little quicker.
So it's Al Unser Jr., Scott Sharp, and Buddy Lazier running in the top 3. We're on board with the Delphi car of Scott Sharp as he looks for a way around Scott Goodyear, or rather Al Unser Jr.
Bob, Scott Sharp hasn't had any radio communication with his team. One of his team members told me just a moment ago, when, as you look at Scott make the pass on Unser for the lead, when the car is good, he hardly says a word. He hasn't said anything, and you can tell by the effects of making that move on Unser that the car is indeed terrific.
Scott Sharp has become the first driver to lead 4 consecutive races here at Texas Motor Speedway. He's wheel to wheel with Al Jr.
Well, and Buddy, for that last straightaway, took the high line and helped push Sharp on through, but Buddy tried to do it by himself and couldn't quite get her done.
And Sam Hornish, who was right up there in the thick of things, has come on to pit road. So scratch him from the battle up front, as once again there is Sam Hornish Jr. They're changing the left front, but I think it could be something much more serious than that, because there is not a great deal of hurry to get him back out onto the racetrack. In fact, they're taking the engine cover off.
Well, that's a tough break for that team. Again, he ran right to the front and had to have a smile on his face for a while, but not right now. Look at this stuff, though. This has been this way the whole race, Bob.
Yep, sure has. Clear back to Robbie McGee, who's running in 7th spot. They're right together. Lapping Davey Hamilton, who's back in 21st spot. We're on board with Scott Sharp, who's running 2nd.
You hear him go over the bumps. Yep. You hear and feel him. You can almost feel him go over the bumps. But they don't have to lift off the throttle.
And here comes Buddy Lazier now down to the inside of Sharp, and Lazier goes to 2nd.
Well, it's just a game of momentum. They pick up that graph and get the slingshot working, and you know, these guys are having a lot of fun right out now.
Jeff Ward, meanwhile, is in 5th position. Up ahead, Salazar, Sharp, Lazier, and Unser. And now Lazier starts to fight his way back up toward the front. And as you indicated, Tom, he just blipped out of the throttle momentarily a few laps ago and lost 5 spots, but now here he comes once again.
Well, again, they're so close to flat that it's hard to get the momentum. He needs a little bit of help maybe to get by. If Sharp goes with him underneath, he might be able to push him on through underneath Al Jr. But Sharp goes to the high side a little bit.
And Lazier now about to complete the pass on Al Unser Jr. down the backstretch, but little Al battles back.
Well, this is good stuff. It doesn't get any better than this in any NASCAR race I've seen, I'll tell you that.
Well, let's see who leads this lap. Oh, I don't know. Jack, what's the update on Hornish?
Well, it's an electrical problem, so what they did is they switched batteries. It's refired. They're going to send him back out.
Look who's up in 5th. That's Robbie McGee in the Mall.com red and white car, and the caution is out.
Yellow.
It's a good time for a caution, guys. A lot of the drivers wanted to pit early in sequence. And at this point, I think you'll see a lot of the front runners duck onto pit road.
And I believe it is caution for something that we don't want any more of, and that is rain. Let's go to Vince Welch.
Bob, I just don't feel any sprinkles down here, so I'm not sure if the track is wet in a different area, but here in the Al Unser pit, no precipitation, but I will tell you, very good fortune, because this team was getting ready to pit in less than 10 laps. Remember, earlier this season, it was burned by a yellow. This time, the yellow comes at exactly the right time for Al Unser Jr. and the Rick Gallis ECR race team.
Well, it may not be rain that caused the caution, because Billy Rowe's car is smoking badly as it comes down through the main grandstand area here, so that possibly could be the reason why we are under caution.
Well, the racing's close. They don't even know who's leading the race. The guy's up front.
Caution is out on lap number 62. And when the pack is formed up behind the pace car, the pits will be open. Right now, I believe they are still closed because the pace car has not come out onto the racetrack yet, so it'll be at least another lap before we do see some pit work.
And, Bob, as we expected, all the leaders are on the radio back and forth to their crews. Once we get the open pit condition, they're coming to pit road for service.
Yeah, they're all within 10 or 15 laps of that window of a distance they can go, so they'll all go in as soon as it opens.
Indeed, the caution is for Billy Rowe's smoking car and not for precipitation on the racetrack.
Pits are open, Al. Pit this lap.
Okay, there is the word that the pits are open, so we will begin to see the activity on pit road here in just a moment. This was the last green lap. Oh, that looks like the finish of the 92 Indy 500.
Well, that looks like a 4-lap trophy dash that they haven't decided a winner on yet.
All right, here they come. Al Unser Jr., Buddy Lazier, and Eliseo Salazar coming in. Now we have a new innovation to show you here on our Indy Racing Northern Light Series events. As the cars come down to their pit stall and arrive in them, there is Al Jr. coming in, Buddy Lazier coming in, and we highlight Buddy Lazier, who is at the first pit stall down toward the exit of pit road.
And, Bob, they are going to make no changes to Buddy Lazier's setup, and he is off and away, but guess who beats him across the line?
Wow. It was very close. Of course, as you indicated, Jack, there is virtually no trip down to the line for Buddy Lazier. He is right there, but I think Al Unser Jr. did cross that line just a fraction of a second ahead of Buddy Lazier.
Bob Jenkins, Scott Sharp had just a little bit of a problem getting out of the pits because everything was so tight with all the other teams pitting, so he couldn't quite get the momentum out and almost stalled the car. Finally got it going, but it certainly put him a little bit behind the pace as far as the other teams are concerned getting out of the box. No changes, just fuel and tires for Scott Sharp, and the same goes for Al Unser Jr. Fuel and tires, no need to mess with the chassis.
Under caution here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Well, two cars elected not to pit, Daré and Hornish. I think Hornish, you know, he just came out of the pit, so that explains that. But Daré's strategy, I'm not sure of.
And there is a missing left front on Robbie Buell's car.
Well, you can see how stiff the chassis are. Nothing's even rubbing on the ground without the tire on the car. So this shouldn't be a big problem for once it's under the yellow, but he's going to lose a lot of track position.
And he comes down for his second visit to his pit stall, and they re-secure the left front. And very quickly they have Robbie moving once again. So we get lined up now, ready to go for a restart here in just a moment. Look how close it was as the cars exited pit road, and who's going to lead? Yep, it was Al Unser Jr., I believe, beating Buddy Lazier by just a few inches. Well, a recheck has put Buddy Lazier at the front of the field. The IRL officials say that he did indeed cross that line first as they came out, but it was very, very close. Now it's that second line, the one closest there, right there. Now watch as they come down. Lazier doesn't have far to go to hit the line.
Well, this is a real close call. This is as close, the stuff in the pits is as close as the racing on the racetrack, Bob. So I'm glad we don't have to make those judgments.
Now there are 2 cars ahead of Buddy Lazier, Davey Hamilton and Sam Hornish. Neither one of those guys pitted this time. They are both laps down. Hamilton is 3 laps down and Hornish 5 laps down. So they'll be trying to get back some of their lost laps as the green comes out and the race resumes. Lazier, Unser, Salazar, Ward, Goodyear, Cheever, Dismore, Sharp, Schrader, and Gregoire are the top 10. And Lazier is going to make quick work of the 2 slower cars. He's already passed Hornish and now also passes Davey Hamilton.
Well, you'll remember, though, Hornish in the second spot there was running with the lead pack before he had some electrical problems that caused him that pit time.
Now the battle is for second spot as Eliseo Salazar and Al Unser battle it out. That's Jeff Ward up on the high side of Davey Hamilton. There's Ward in 4th, about a 2.25 behind.
Again, they must have had a good pit stop because Jeff was right there, but you know, everybody's been so tight. You know, a little bit of an advantage in the pit goes a long ways in this kind of traffic.
Al Unser Jr. up on the right of Sam Hornish. There is Lazier.
And Bob, it should come as no surprise that Buddy Lazier is beginning to pull away. If you know what he reported to Ronnie Dawes, his crew chief, he said with a full tank of fuel, the car feels very good. He says as we run down through the 35 gallons, the car starts to loosen up. Ronnie Dawes said, should we make any changes? He says, no, I like it this way.
He sure is acting that way. Has pulled out to a 8 or 10 car length advantage on the second place car of Al Unser Jr. And Vince Welch has an update on Billy Rowe.
Billy Rowe with a problem earlier. We saw some smoke coming out of the car during one of the stops. What eventually put you out?
Well, earlier in practice, we had some alcohol washed down the number 4 cylinder. We had a feeling this was going to happen, and there towards the end, we had water mixing in with it and started running real flat, and then finally it just started smoking real bad. We had to pull it in. Just like to thank the good Lord for helping us get here safe. Got all 4 wheels on it, and fun to be back.
See you in Colorado?
I don't think so. We'll probably maybe take it to Atlanta.
Look forward to it, Billy. Thank you.
Great battle up front. Al Unser Jr. pulls alongside Buddy Lazier down the backstretch. They are side by side once again.
Well, Buddy likes it when the tank is full. I'm saying Al ain't too mad at it either.
And Lazier holds off the challenge for the moment. Will come down, cross the line, and lead lap number 74.
Again, those 2 running side by side. It's going to get this back pack a chance to draft up, suck up right to them.
And I don't know that I've ever seen what they are doing here as far as trying to break the draft. We see that it's, oh, now we're 3 wide through the corner. Oh, Salazar takes second from Unser.
I'll tell you what, these guys are flat after me.
You see the snake effect down the backstretch occasionally with the guys in front trying to break the draft of the guy behind. Here is Jeff Ward running in 4th position. Look how Lazier is way down at the bottom. And now Unser comes back and challenges Salazar for second. Great view of this race from Jeff Ward.
Well, Jeff Ward's starting to like the view a lot better because he's a lot closer to the front of this pack. But this is just great stuff. I mean, they're all looking for the little hole, the little less drag that somebody else is pushing the air in front of them, and they're all trying to find that hole. And in momentum, if they get the draft running, they got to go for it.
We haven't talked much about Greg Ray this afternoon. He is back in 11th spot, so he isn't too far out of this lead pack. Up front, it is Unser and Lazier. Lazier hanging on to a very slight advantage back there in 4th position. That's Scott Goodyear and Scott Sharp going at it.
Well, this is just amazing stuff. You'd think after a few laps they'd settle down a little bit, but, you know, they continue to stand up in the seat the entire time, Bob.
Eddie Cheever now running in 4th spot. Right behind the Pennzoil Panther, driven by Scott Goodyear. Here they drop down to the bottom of the track.
Well, look at that, right down on the bottom.
Oh, and Unser may have a run here on Lazier, and indeed, Al Unser Jr. retakes the lead.
You can see inside of Goodyear's car how actually it's pretty smooth. I mean, he's looking for openings, but you know, the car doesn't do much. It looks like it's pretty easy for him to drive right now. And we talked to the crew earlier, and he said that they were going to ride back there a little bit as people are using the racetrack and the apron to pass.
Down the apron. I think that was Mark Dismore that went clear to the apron of the racetrack in the backstretch to try to gain an advantage. Off the quad oval they come to complete another lap. 80 laps are complete. It's still a horse race between Buddy Lazier and Al Unser Jr.
Well, look at Goodyear right beside him, Salazar. But we talked to Goodyear's crew. Remember how they talked about they were going to ride back there, let everybody else push the air around and use up their fuel, maybe try to stretch the mileage.
8 cars running right together, separated by just about a second. Now Scott Goodyear comes up to 3rd position on the inside of Eliseo Salazar. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right together just like it was the start of the race.
This is one of the fastest pace laps I've seen in a while.
Scott Sharp back there in 5th position. Meanwhile, he gets a challenge on the outside from Eddie Cheever.
Well, look at Sharp back there do a big wiggle trying to get down underneath somebody there.
Folks, if you're just joining us, it's about 2:30 Eastern Time. None of these cars are a lapped car. All of this going on at the front of the field. The battle up front is Junior on the inside and Buddy Lazier on the outside. 8 cars right there. All of this at 207 miles an hour. "83 laps are complete. It's still anybody's race."
We got them 8 of them, 8 deep, stacked 2 abreast.
Trying to get to the front. Back with more in a moment from Texas Motor Speed. Bob Jenkins, Tom Sneva, Vince Welch, and Jack Arute back at Texas Motor Speedway. 88 laps completed, and the top 10 drivers are separated by less than a second.
Yeah, all they would have missed while we went to commercials, about 8 lead changes and 47 passes, Bob.
Buddy Lazier and Al Unser Jr. are up front. Here's the race recap. Lazier leading with a speed of 208.155 average. 6 leaders, 19 lead changes. We've had 2 cautions, 1 for rain and 1 for Billy Rowe's blown engine. Other than that, we have been green, and we have seen some incredible racing. And that on the far right of your screen, folks, you just got a shot of him. He's moved up into 9th position. That is the green car, the Menard-sponsored car of Greg Ray. We've been talking all weekend about how he has to change his season around, and he has moved up from his 17th starting position to the 9th spot, and now joins this huge battle for the lead. I defy you to show me better racing than we have seen in the first 90 laps of this race anywhere, and I also would defy anyone to classify these drivers as anything but top rate. These guys have battled wheel to wheel at over 207 miles an hour for 90 laps, and nobody has shown even a bobble.
Well, and again, as they get some laps on these tires, you know, some of the handling will start to go a little bit away, and then we might see some lead changes and some bobbling. But, God, there's a lot of downforce in these cars, and they're all just running side by side.
Up for the 3rd position is Robbie McGee in that red and white Mall.com sponsored car. He's alongside the Pennzoil Panther of Scott Goodyear. They race side by side down through the trial, the quad oval actually. Eliseo Salazar is in 3rd position. That's Eddie Cheever on the bottom in the silver car. As we show you the leaderboard with the sponsors on the cars, there's top 4.
Hey, Bob, right now, Scott Goodyear's Pennzoil Panther team keeps talking to him on the radio and telling him, get in line, get in line, get in line. Finally, he radioed back and he said, I'm trying.
Yeah, it's real easy for him to drive him from the pit area, I know that. But when you're out there in that kind of traffic, you know, it's a tough job.
Well, how many laps have we seen Al Unser Jr. and Buddy Lazier now running virtually dead even? On board with Jeff Ward, who's back in 8th position. That's Scott Sharp to his left and Eliseo Salazar up ahead.
When you see Sharp, he almost tried to go up, but realized somebody was there, and so did a nice job of keeping the car down, giving fellow drivers some room.
And we heard Scott Sharp's car hitting the rev limiter there.
Yeah, well, when you're in that kind of draft, you pick up so much speed that a lot of times the gears can be off.
And look who also has come up to join the battle up front. It is Sarah Fisher, who's shown in 13th spot.
Well, that's unbelievable. I mean, the boys are just having a great time. She says, I want to join these guys.
Now Al Unser Jr. moves to the lead. Scott Goodyear goes to second, and Buddy Lazier all of a sudden is back in third.
We are 10 laps from halfway in the race.
Indeed we are.
Well, the good news is the weather looks decent. I don't think it's going to be rain shortened at this point. We're going to get most of this race in, if not all of it.
Well, the skies are as bright now as they have been for a while. So, yeah, the rain appears to have moved off to the east, leaving us hopefully a dry racetrack for the rest of the afternoon. Now here's Mark Dismore. He's back in 9th position. There's Robbie Buell also up there. He's in 10th. Greg Ray, Buzz Calkins, and Sarah Fisher also in this group, and we're talking back through the 13th position. Actually, there are 14 cars that are very, very close to each other, as now Scott Goodyear and Buddy Lazier contest second.
Well, Cheever was in a fendered IROC race yesterday, but he's in an open wheel IROC race today.
Now Al Unser Jr. begins to pull away just a little bit, if you can call 5-6 car lengths pulling away. There's Cheever battling alongside of Robbie McGee, and some slower traffic to battle. Oh, we're 3 abreast coming down through the quad oval, and that's Jimmy Kite that they're trying to lap. And
well, look how close. Right front to left rear. I mean, these guys are just inches apart at 205 miles an hour.
Guys, just before that last pit stop, Eddie Cheever had come in and had radio communication with his chief mechanic, Owen Snyder, and Snyder told him, Eddie, it looks like you hit something on the right rear, and Cheever said, no doubt about it, I brushed the right rear with the wall in turn 4. So Cheever is certainly using all the track just as we are accustomed to.
Wow.
Well, Cheever, he talked about maybe not being the sharpest tool in the box, but he's a crafty driver for a dull blood.
Hey, Bob, we're going to see some interesting stuff unfold shortly if we don't get a yellow. We're talking about the first green flag pit stops. Your leader, Al Unser Jr., has told his crew he plans to come in on lap 112. I'm not a math major, but he's 111. It's only 11 laps away.
Well, how about that sharp shot out of Goodyear's car? That's the camera down right in front of the right rear tire out of Goodyear's car. Heavy traffic, Bob.
Man. You know, we can only hope that everybody comes in on the same lap so we can continue this incredible battle that we have going on. Oh, well, there's a car moving toward pit lane, causing a bit of a congestion. That was Jared Schrader. Schrader makes it on to pit road as the battle up front continues. Lazier now once again looking for the lead as he goes to the outside of Al Unser Jr. down the backstretch. And Robbie McGee is right there also. The St. Louis driver is having a good run here this afternoon. And that's Eddie Cheever running in 4th with Salazar and Goodyear 5th and 6th. We got to take a break. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series at Texas. The incredible race here at Texas continues. Look at this recap. The green race average, 208.3 miles an hour, 6 leaders, 22 lead changes. The all-time record in the series is 23 at the 1998 Indianapolis 500. Only 2 cautions, and I'm telling you, you can't find any better racing than this.
Well, again, that's a shot out of Goodyear's car right in front of the right rear tire, and you can see how close the racing is. I mean, this is unbelievable. What a great shot.
That's Robbie McGee battling alongside Scott Goodyear. They contest the 4th position. Al Unser Jr. has the advantage over Eddie Cheever, Buddy Lazier, then Goodyear, McGee, and Salazar. That green car running back at the end of this line is the 11th place car of Greg Ray, and he is only 1 1/4 seconds back of the leader of the event. We anticipate pit stops very, very soon, so that will probably result in all of this racing being broken up somewhat.
Bob, forget soon. How about right now?
All right.
Al Unser Jr.
Yes.
will be coming onto pit road for service. He will be the first of the leaders. Jared Schrader's car is pushed out of the way to give Unser a clear shot onto pit road.
He does drop down off the banking, comes to the apron of the racetrack, and Al Unser Jr. is relinquishing the lead here to service the car. Very slowly down through pit lane.
I'm not sure for fuel, Bob. It might be for a heartbreak relief.
60 mile an hour speed limit. No changes anticipated during this stop. The fuel is in.
No conversation on the radio indicating that Al Unser Jr. was just fine with the car. No changes, and away he goes back in competition. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, the furious battle continues. That's Cheever now that has the advantage. Second place is McGee, then Salazar, Goodyear, and Mark Dismore.
Well, you saw with Unser's stop that he had to wait on fuel. They changed the tires a lot quicker than they put fuel in the car.
Buddy Lazier has decided to come in for a pit stop. We understand that Eddie Cheever, who is now the leader of the race, will be in 5 laps.
Ronnie Dawes continues to tell Buddy Lazier to make sure he keeps the revs up. They don't want to stall the car. I see no changes being made on Lazier's stop. As I said, fuel. He lights it up. No speed limit. 10.5 seconds to stop for Lazier.
A little quicker than Unser.
And another one of those running up in the lead group. Eliseo Salazar hits pit road. There's the Rio's A.J. Foyt car that has come to a halt, and the crew going to work on it. Tire changes very quickly. The slowest part of the pit stop is getting the fuel in. There it is, and Salazar peels off.
Your tire moved in the back. He was very close to his right rear. Reset your fuel.
That's A.J. Foyt talking, letting the crew guys know what adjustments they need to make.
Cheever and McGee, first and second, then Dismore and Sharp. They come down to complete lap number 117 of 208. On board with Scott Sharp. And we have more making pit stops. Here comes Scott Goodyear down for his scheduled maintenance, along with Stefan Gregoire.
And the guy on the outside is the crew chief. He'll change that right front. They call him Rocket because he does it so quickly. Again, no changes on Scott Goodyear in terms of handling. Kevin Blanche holds him until the fuel comes in. It's taking so long to fill. He's away, guys.
And we have a new leader, but he has now decided to come in for a pit stop. That's Dismore. For the last lap, Robbie McGee was at the front of the field. He led 2 laps at Indianapolis and has led 6 races in his career, adding Texas Motor Speedway to that total. So Dismore now has the lead as Robbie McGee comes down. So does Eddie Cheever, and so does Robbie Buell.
Around Jamie, right here, right here.
Shigeaki Hattori also comes in. He'll stop right behind Robbie McGee.
And there's more people on that lap. They might be able to take advantage of the draft by coming in together. I was surprised that some of the other leaders didn't come in with each other, so they didn't lose a draft situation.
Eddie Cheever's crew has changed the tires on his car.
Go to zero on the fuel. Go to zero on the fuel.
There's a problem, Bob. They stalled the car. Cheever raised his hands up in the air. Something was wrong before the car even stalled. Now they're going to try to refire it.
And Eddie Cheever, the car just won't fire, it appears. Now it's running, but he lost an incredible amount of time on pit road, 31 seconds.
Bob, that's really unfortunate because they were not going to make any changes to the car. In fact, they had not made any changes, and this was the first race Cheever had led since Phoenix. Everything had been perfect up until that point, including the Infinity engine, which has been very strong.
Scott Sharp has made his pit stop. He now rejoins the hunt. And Dismore also in, so this is going to recycle around now. But let's make note that the Team Kelly cars, Dismore and Sharp, were the last to make their pit stops. And if it becomes a fuel mileage situation, we will keep our eye on that.
You got to begin to wonder because the report from Owen Snyder is that Cheever ran the car out of fuel.
Huh.
Well, that's a problem, trying to stretch it that far. And the Infinity, maybe they haven't worked in the fuel mileage quite as hard as some of the other teams that run the Aurora motor. So, again, the fuel mileage thing really hurt them right there.
Buddy Lazier and Eliseo Salazar are battling for the second position. The leader of the race, there he is, Al Unser Jr. There is second and third. Lazier and Salazar, and running in fourth spot is Scott Goodyear.
Again, the green flag stops have spread them out a little bit, but I'm assuming they're going to pack up before too long.
Well, let's hope so, because what we saw there before the pit stops was as good as you can see anywhere in any kind of racing. And Cheever is trying to stay on the lead lap here as Al Unser Jr. tries to put him a lap down. Well, 123 laps completed. They're the top 5 at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll be right back. This is the 51st year that the College World Series has been held in Omaha. Today on ESPN at 3, it's Stanford versus Clemson. Later on ESPN 2 at 7 o'clock Eastern, San Jose State against Louisiana Lafayette. ESPN or ESPN 2 will have complete coverage of all the games this coming week. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. Well, they packed up again at least the top 3. Now, Eddie Cheever, the car who is right beside Al Unser Jr., is trying to stay on the lead lap. Junior is the leader of the race. Here comes Salazar and Lazier battling for second. Goodyear fourth. Dismore is in fifth position. Scott Sharp, Robbie McGee, Robbie Buell, Stephen Gregoire, and Ayrton Dare are the top 10. There are 11 cars on the lead lap, with Calkins in the 11th position and Cheever sometimes on the lead lap.
But Cheever had the long pit stop. That's why he's in that position of almost going a lap down. So he's fighting for position and a yellow flag to get caught back up.
He would love to see a yellow now for debris on the racetrack or something other than a wreck that would allow him to get back in contention and make up the lap. We're on board with Mark Dismore, who is in the 4th position at the moment, with Scott Goodyear right near him.
And it really didn't take very long for them to all start to pack back up, especially with Cheever running 2 abreast up there. It really gives the guys in the back a chance to suck their way to the front.
Fellas, right now there is some tactics unfolding with your leader, Al Unser Jr. Rick Gallis just radioed to Al and said, look, if we don't get some more yellow, we're going to have to rethink our fuel mileage situation. He has suggested to Al that he consider dropping back, letting somebody else lead, and draft for a while.
Now, how tough is it to tell a race driver not to lead, huh?
Well, it's tough, but Al's the type of guy that would go with that kind of strategy, and he would abide by that, but it looks like they haven't quite got that communication clear to him at this point.
Well, Tom, where they're not quite sure, they want him to consider it. They wanted some feedback from him. They're going to wait and see because, you know, we're talking about that final pit stop coming up. When do they want to do it?
Well, also, you know, the other thing they have to consider is you drop back a couple cars. These guys are running so close, a little mistake can cause you a problem. And if you're back a car or two, it's more likely that you're going to be involved in a problem.
In the very early going, Donnie Beechler was among the contenders, but he's out, right, Vince?
That's right. Donnie was running as high as 6th. What happened because you're done now?
Well, we were good early, and then after that red flag we had, I think we cracked the cylinder head on the engine. It just kept getting slower and slower. And I was running 6th gear, and then I couldn't pull 6th. I had to go to 5th, and I couldn't pull 5th, so we just ended up parking it.
Been a quick car. It's too bad for Donnie Beechler. We'll see you in Colorado.
Thanks, Vince.
Colorado coming up a week from today, and you'll see it live on ABC at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Al Unser Jr., Buddy Lazier, Mark Dismore, Eliseo Salazar, and Scott Sharp are your top 5. Scott Goodyear is running in 6th position. 135 of 208 laps completed. Welcome back to the Indy Racing Northern Light Series at Texas Motor Speedway. An incredible race continues. Lap 140 is underway. Al Unser Jr. with a slight advantage over Mark Dismore and Buddy Lazier. And that car second in line there is Eddie Cheever, and he is behind the leader and therefore a lap down.
Well, we've got some some telemetry here showing us the fastest outlap. We had just had a green flag stop by everybody, and it was actually Ayrton Dare was the fastest guy up to speed in that first lap out of the pits, followed by Al Unser and then Dismore.
You see Mark Dismore has taken over the second position. Lazier running third, and Salazar fourth. That car driven by Buddy Lazier, of course, is rowed by Ron Himmelgaard. And that's Sarah Fisher running right there in front of this lead group. She is currently running in 17th position. Vince?
Bob, they're experiencing an electronics problem with Sarah Fisher's car, but they know that it'll take too long to take care of and look at under green, so she's just going to ride it out for a while and hope they get a yellow flag and bring it in where they can take a little more time to look at it. But right now, not a very pleasant ride for Sarah Fisher.
And she now goes 2 laps down, and whoa, boy, that was close at the end of the backstretch.
They're all going on the high side.
Well, patience, I don't think, is becoming a big issue right now as we start to get later in the race. These guys are going to start taking a few more chances, and the gambling might be a little more intense in the Harris and Rios car than some of these other guys.
Eddie Cheever still trying to stay on the lead lap. I was talking about Ron Himmelgaard. He's from Toledo, Ohio. In a few weeks, we're going to do a Thunder race, a USAC sprint car race from Toledo, and the winner of that race is going to get a test in the Ron Himmelgaard team, and I think that's really a
wow, did you see how close Sharp? That's Sharp right up against the wall.
He's in 4th spot.
And fuel conservation has started with your leader. They've made an adjustment. They told him to go to 5 o'clock on the fuel. They're going to start to try and save.
When they say 5 o'clock on the fuel, the driver actually has about 6 or 7 settings in the car where he can adjust the fuel mileage, pressure, and the spark in the engine to affect the mileage.
First 6 cars are still within a second of each other here at the Texas Motor Speedway. We'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. Here's Robbie Buell and Ayrton Dare as they battle with each other. And right behind them is Greg Ray, who is a lap down now in the 14th position.
Well, again, that would have to be because of a fuel stop situation. But these guys, instead of running side by side, instead of trying to pass each other, I think if they got nose to tail, they could probably close the gap up to that lead group, maybe just a little bit faster. But again, Dare, a young rookie driver, and he'll know more about this next time, that's for sure.
Al Unser Jr. is the leader of the race. He's still alongside Eddie Cheever, who again is trying to stay on the lead lap. Lazier second, then Sharp, Salazar, Dismore. Back there to Scott Goodyear and Robbie McGee also. Although McGee is not in this lead group, so we do have the top 6 drivers running together here within a second of each other. Eddie Cheever a lap down most of the time in the 12th position. 11 cars on the lead lap, and the fastest that last lap was Stephen Gregoire, 211 miles an hour.
Well, again, these guys, all the leaders are running 2 by 2, and that's not a quick way around there. And obviously somebody running nose to tail drafting can run just a little bit quicker than side by side.
Boy, a really tough break for Eddie Cheever, who had the car running well and is still running well, but boy, that 30-second pit stop that he had when this car stalled has dropped him back to stay on the lead lap.
Well, you can see Buddy works a little harder than some of the other in-car situations we've had. He might be sprung. He might have a little stiffer springs on his car than some of these other guys, but that's pretty much the way Buddy likes to drive them, and it's as fast as anybody.
The guys right now, Buddy Lazier, if they feel like they've got all they can get out of it right now, if they can get loose from the pack, they might be able to go quicker. But Lee Kunzman just said, what you see is what we've got. We can't get it any better than what it is right now.
It's the 5th race of the year for the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series. We're at Texas Motor Speedway, and we're 154 laps into a 208-lap event. And we have seen a record just here this afternoon. There 26 lead changes, breaking the previous record of 23 set back at the 1998 Indianapolis. Most laps have been led by the driver who is currently leading, Al Unser Jr. He's led 75 laps. The green race averaged more than 207 miles an hour. Buddy Lazier has led 57. Dismore 8. Cheever and Goodyear 6. Sharp, Salazar, and McGee have each led 1 lap. We had a rain interruption that red flagged the race for a while, for about 38 minutes, but we have had mostly partly cloudy skies now since that rain shower passed over, and just an incredible amount of great racing.
Well, you see them snake down the back straightaway, all trying to tuck in a little more than they were earlier.
On board with Scott Sharp, running in third, and we're approaching another pit window here when we may see some drivers come in for stops.
And Bob, this may be the most difficult time for a pit crew. It should be the final stop for Al Unser's team, and the crew members show the tautness and the stress on their faces. They know in 2 laps they'll have to accomplish a change of tires, 35 gallons of methanol, do it flawlessly, and they can give their driver a real good shot at victory. Make one mistake, and you could lose several hundred yards on the racetrack.
Well, for sure, pitting under the green is a lot more strenuous on the crews than a yellow situation. But the key is how fast they get the fuel in the car, because it takes a lot longer to fuel the car, especially late in the race when there's no tank pressure, there's no head pressure in the pits.
And you know, one of the tricks as we wait for Al Unser Jr. to pull onto pit road to his pit stall is to drop the car before the fueling is concluded. We'll watch to see if Unser's team will do that. For some reason, that helps the flow, especially when the main fuel tank is down to the last precious gallons.
He's coming right at you, Jack. Little Al.
60-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Clear in and clear out. Hit the button.
That is car owner Rick Gallis.
Hit the button as a speed pit limiter.
Reset your dash and pump your clutch.
That's Alan Mertens, his engineer. They do drop it. I don't think he can get much better than that, guys.
Excellent, excellent pit stop. Meanwhile, up front, we have a battle now between Buddy Lazier and Scott Sharp for the lead. Lazier has it. We're on board with Sharp. And that's Eddie Cheever, of course, up ahead of Buddy Lazier, who is now back on the lead lap in 12th position.
I'll tell you what, Scott's looking for a spot, but you can see his right hand on the wheel was actually very relaxed when they're running nose to tail at 207 miles an hour.
And Scott Goodyear is lurking here amongst this group, too, running a close third. Dismore and Salazar also in this pack of cars as they come off the 4th corner and head for the start-finish line once again to complete lap 163 in the books.
Well, you saw the bump down in turn 4 really rock the steering wheel, really try to knock it out of their hands.
Hey, fellas, all of a sudden, Scott Sharp's crew, who pitched directly in front of Al Unser, saw that stop, and they started to wonder. And the light bulb went on, and they realized that it could be a fuel economy run for Al Unser Jr. They like their odds every lap that Scott Sharp can continue. They feel it could give them the advantage. Why? They won't have to take on as much fuel in their last stop.
Well, Little Al's definitely not getting the mileage that these other guys are.
And we have Lazier slowing down along with Salazar. Meanwhile, the Kelly teammates battle it out for the lead as both Lazier and Salazar come slowly down pit road for what should be their final pit stop. Here comes Buddy Lazier pulling in.
Well, Buddy's wiggling the car. The thing ran out of fuel, so he's trying to get the pickup. This could be a longer start. You can see him try to rock the car to try to get the fuel to pick up. He's going to be dead stick. This could hurt him.
They're communicating on the just told Buddy that the car was indeed. He got to be very careful trying to get this one out of here so it doesn't die. Now they're going to have to start it from the back, and you see the starter working in the back, but it isn't going to be a costly stop. They can't get it fired.
Well, it wasn't as long as Eddie Cheever's, but it was way too long in terms of everybody else. And now the car finally catches, and Lazier roars back into action.
That's a tough break for Buddy, especially when the competition's this close. Little mistakes like that can make the difference in winning and being in the top 10 at this race.
And let's update you on the 2 leaders, Team Kelly's cars, Dismore and Sharp. They will pit in 4.5 laps.
Well, that is quite a bit longer than anybody else is running, so they've done a tremendous job.
Mark Dismore is the leader of the race over his teammate Scott Sharp. Scott Goodyear is running. Texas Motor Speedway caution out for the third time. Jeff Ward, no contact. The engine just let go, or something did, but a huge plume of smoke from the rear end of the Harris AJ Foyt G-Force. So now there have been 4 cars that had not pitted when this caution came out: Sharp, Dismore, Calkins, and McGee, and they're going to benefit, needless to say, because everybody else who had pitted before now is a lap down.
Well, yeah, that's the breaks of the games, but that's advantage of getting fuel mileage, Bob. You just stretch it and stretch it. And this time it looks like it maybe worked for these guys, for these 4 guys that were able to stretch the mileage.
Hold your brakes and keep the revs up, buddy.
Scott Sharp down at the bottom of your screen. Mark Dismore coming in.
This is going to be fun. 2 teammates. You know what? Whoever gets out first is certainly going to have a decided advantage. This is what these teams practice during the week against each other. Sharp's done first. A long stop for Dismore. Taking on fuel, having some problems. And he's away.
Well, Scott was a little slow coming out of the pits. I don't know what that's all about, but in any case, caution is out. Back with more in a moment. Well, Scott Sharp's team members talking it over. They have their driver out in the lead. Teammate Mark Dismore running in 2nd position, and Buzz Calkins is now in 3rd. And look at the fastest laps today. Eddie Cheever on the 61st lap of the race has turned the fastest lap at over 213 miles an hour. But look down through the rest of the top 10, how close it is.
Well, that's just amazing. And we've seen that in the racetrack. I mean, it's just been that close all day.
We go down to Jack Arute, who's with Jeff Ward.
Well, Jeff, a cloud of smoke, and it wasn't a Hardy Hi-O Silver. What happened to the car?
Motor let go. We had seemed like it was getting kind of tight there towards the middle of the road, and I felt a lot of heat coming behind me for whatever reason, and I radioed in, and then it blew up. And unfortunately, we went a lap down there, just ran out of fuel or stuff and quit. And
Jeff, how about the racing? It's been so long since I've seen this incredible kind of racing.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's so much fun out there. I mean, everybody's minding their P's and Q's and giving the room when you need it. I'm sure when those last 10 laps comes, it's going to get a lot more hairier, but because right now you don't mind when somebody goes by you. But it's the best I've ever seen it, so it was fun.
Well, Bob, we'll let him get changed because he wants to watch it.
Well, we're going to have a delayed caution here because Sam Hornish's car has stopped at the exit of turn number 2. Back at Texas Motor Speedway, getting ready for a restart. Scott Sharp and Mark Dismore are 1st and 2nd, but they are way back here in the middle of the field. In fact, 10 cars are ahead of those 2. Calkins is 3rd, followed by McGee. However, McGee, Unser, Goodyear, and Salazar are among those ahead of the leader, and therefore almost a lap down.
Well, this is going to get pretty exciting right now because those guys that are almost on the tail end of the lead lap are going to do everything they can to try to stay there and hope for that yellow situation.
Hope for a caution before too long so they can go clear around the racetrack. There is Scott Sharp in the Delphi Automotive System MCI WorldCom Dallara. Cheever has gone a lap down now, and he is shown in the 12th position. So is Buddy Lazier, who is 9th. Shigeaki Hattori is having a good race. He is in the 8th position, and he was penalized for a speed limit violation on pit road, but still has battled back to an 8th position.
Well, there's a battle between
Calkins and Dismore for 2nd.
And Dismore's going to the front. He got bottled up on the restart a little bit and let Sharp get away from him some, but he's coming now.
Boy, hats off to Buzz Calkins, who is having a great race here this afternoon. Will be in his home territory next weekend at Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak International Raceway.
Bob Buzz started 19th, and as you noted, he's all the way up to 3rd place. They haven't made any adjustments to this Dallara chassis. It's been a good, strong run for this team. And team engineer David Cripps told me just a few moments ago, this one's going to be a drag race to the end.
Well, look at Buzz. He isn't. Dismore ain't driving away. Buzz is coming right back on him.
He sure is. You'll recall, though, that Buzz, we have a crash. Eliseo Salazar. I'm not sure it was a crash. It was just a smoke puff of smoke from Eliseo Salazar, and here is the caution that those guys needed.
No question, but that's the other Foyt car.
Yep.
Both motors blew up within a couple laps of each other, Bob.
I was going to mention that Calkins is one of those who really suffered because of the fact they lined up according to points, because in those 17 cars that qualified on Friday, he was the 4th fastest. And so he has been fast all weekend, now finds himself in 2nd position. So this really changes the complexion of the race, because McGee, Unser, and Goodyear now are going to be right back up there in contention. Still under caution here at Texas Motor Speedway because of Eliseo Salazar, whose engine apparently let go up in turn number 1, right ahead of the leaders, but he did pull off to the high side of the racetrack, and there was no damage to anyone. Here are the standings now as we have completed 182 laps. See some drivers there that are a lap down. Greg Ray 3 laps down. And just a couple of cars that are not on the racetrack. Beechler is listed as out of the race and Hamilton off of the track. But other than that, we have some cars that are still out on the racetrack. Well, join ESPN in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series as they christen the brand new 1.5-mile Kentucky Motor Speedway Saturday at 7:30 Eastern. We have all of the activity from the truck race there for you next Saturday. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. We're going to take a final break and be back with the rest of the race here on ESPN. 23 laps to go, and we will be here commercial-free until the drop of the checkered flag. And we remind you that we have more Indy Racing Northern Light Series racing coming up for you a week from today. That's at Pikes Peak International Raceway, and you will see it live at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 1 Pacific, next Sunday on ABC, as these cars compete on a 1-mile track at Pikes Peak, and we have seen some great racing there also. Down to Jackaroot.
Right now, during the last moments of this caution, some teams are actually doing lobbying, Bob. We're talking about teams that are on the lead lap that are looking in front of their cars and seeing cars that are a lap down. That was the case with Al Unser as he dispatched a crew member down to Ronnie Dawes and Ron Hemmelgarn and said, hey, look, buddy, can you let us by so we can take a run at the lead duo of Sharp and Dismore? We'll have to wait and see what happens at the drop of the green.
Well, there are about 7 cars or so, 6 cars between 3rd place, or rather 4th place McGee and 5th place Unser. So, yeah, Al needs to get a good jump here at the drop of the green flag.
Well, with this few laps, if anybody's got anything left, they're going to have to show it right now. And it's going to be fun because you got some of the guys that have been up front all day are going to have to come through most of the pack to get back to the front and try to get a victory out of this thing.
Until today, Scott Sharp had never led here at Texas Motor Speedway, but he has led 18 laps and is the leader of this race.
And here's what Tom Kelly just told the leader. He said, your only competition, Calkins and Dismore.
Well, I'd say he's going to have more competition than that. And right now, though, he's looking pretty good, being in the front of the pack and nothing in front of him except the pace car.
If Scott Sharp should win here today, he will become the winningest driver in Indy Racing League history. Right now, he is tied with 4 career wins with Ari Leyendijk and Kenny Breck. Vince?
Well, just as Jack said that Sharp was concerned about Calkins and Dismore, Buzz Calkins' team says they haven't won since the initial race of the season or the initial race of the series in Orlando. They've got an opportunity here. They're not going to hold back and settle for second by no stretch of the imagination. If the chance is there, they're going to go for the victory.
Nobody is going to hold back in these last few laps. There are 6 cars on the lead lap: Sharp, Calkins, Dismore, McGee, Al Unser Jr., and Scott Goodyear.
Well, the only negative for Sharp is that he's got to blow a hole for everybody else. Everybody's going to be able to draft off of him, but he got a pretty good jump on this restart, Bob.
And that is very important, too, because if he can pull away, he can perhaps maintain the interval back to everybody else. Here comes Buzz Calkins. That is Hattori, who is running in the 7th position. He's had a good run here today. Calkins now clears him and sets his sights on the leader of the race, but Greg Ray is between the 1st and 2nd place drivers. There is Ray right behind Scott Sharp.
Well, that actually might help Sharp. Ray might be able to help those two run a little quicker. Ray, again, a lap down, but he's going to be a big asset
And
right
there's
now.
Robbie McGee, who takes over the 3rd position from Mark Dismore. So Robbie McGee may be a factor here before this thing is all over. He's had a great run all afternoon long in the Mall.com car.
Bob, they haven't touched that race car today. They were telling me just a moment ago that they feel like they're not out of it yet, despite the fact that they were down to 4th or 5th at the time. The car has been terrific, and they felt like Robbie could still manage to get it to the front in the few laps remaining. We've got 18 left in this race.
Well, Jarrett's giving him all he wants right now. I mean, all these cars are just so close, it makes this traffic situation real tough.
Jarrett Schrader back in 23rd position, spent a lot of laps on pit road. He's 84 laps behind, but still the car is running well. And there is Al Unser Jr., who is in 5th position. And also right there is Eddie Cheever, but again, he is not on the lead lap. He's in 9th. That's Tice Carlson just ahead of Al Unser Jr., and Tice Carlson is shown in the 14th position.
There's Robbie. Oh, wow. Robbie got a big run down the inside of Buzz and was able to pull it off without causing anybody any trouble.
And now Robbie McGee sets his sights on the leader. Right now he is 2.3 seconds behind Scott Sharp, but we've got 16 more laps to go. Here is the interval. There is Scott Goodyear at the bottom of your screen, and here comes Robbie McGee running in 2nd.
Tom Seeley, you wondered whether Greg Ray being hooked up with Scott Sharp would help Scott Sharp. Greg Ray's team has said on the radio to him, hey, just stay on the rear gearbox of the leader. That says to me they're going to try the 2-car tango to the finish.
Yeah, and that's obviously going to help Scott. Ray would probably like to get by and be on the lead of that in case there was a yellow. He could get maybe a lap back that way, but and it looks like he's going to try for that situation, actually. Here they come.
Robbie McGee has competed here at Texas twice before. His best finish was last October. He started 15th and finished in 12th position. Right now, he shaved the interval down to 2 seconds. It was 3 last lap. So he is closing in on the leader, Scott Sharp. On board with the leader, Scott Sharp, and here is our track map showing you how close they are. Scott going into turn number 1 and not too far behind the number 5 car of McGee and the 12 car of Buzz Calkins.
Well, and he's coming. McGee is actually 1.5 miles quicker the last 2 or 3 laps in a row, so he's closing the gap.
Fastest car on the racetrack, however, last lap was Scott Goodyear, who's running in 5th position as he ran a lap at 2:12.5.
And that compares to the leader just a little over 2:08. McGee's running almost 2:10, so this is going to get fun here in a minute.
Car slow down at the apron of the racetrack coming off turn number 2. Looked like Robbie Buell. And hopefully that's not something that will cause a caution. Buell, of course, the Purex Dreyer and Reinbold car with infinity power here this weekend. Now the interval is 1.5 seconds, so McGee has shaved off another half second as he charges up towards Scott Sharp, the leader.
Well, at this rate, he's going to get there. Whether he can do anything with him once he gets there is going to be something else.
Coming down this time, there will be 10 more laps to go. There on the far left of your screen is Scott Sharp. Here he comes. Greg Ray coming in right behind.
Looking good.
Greg Ray is in 11th, 3 laps down. Here you can see how McGee has shaved the interval from 2.3 seconds on lap 192 to now just over a second last lap.
There he goes. He got some lap traffic. He got a little toe off of Stefan Gregoire there. That shot him down into the corner and able to close that gap.
You are catching Sharp. 9 to go.
Yes, he is. It's now 3/4 of a second, and it's really going to become a matter of car lengths here in just a moment.
Well, this would be a lot easier, again, if Greg Ray wasn't in between the two, but that's going to present potential trouble. It might hold him up a lap or two, and that might be enough.
So often, moms are the one that discourages son from driving in race cars. Mom Janet, however, has inspired Robbie McGee in his racing career, and McGee is coming on strong. He goes to the high side of Greg Ray.
Still there.
Down the backstretch.
Actually, Greg gave him some room up high. That was nice of Ray to do that. He gave him just a little bit of room.
Robbie McGee has cleared him, and now it becomes a battle up front as McGee closes to within car lengths.
7 to go. He's your leader.
7 laps to go, indeed.
Well, he closed that gap way too quick. I don't know if Sharp's going to have enough to hold him off, but if McGee gets by...
And that's Sarah Fisher. Now here's McGee on the high side. Oh, they could go 3 wide through the corner. Oh, they're wheel to wheel. Wow. The corner.
Nice job.
McGee has got him. McGee has got him by a half a car length. Can he pull away?
No, he hadn't pulled it away. I'm not sure he still got him. He doesn't.
Robbie McGee's best finish at Indy in 99.
Well, you see that McGee was able to close it because of the draft, but now once he gets side by side, it equalized them quite a bit.
5 more, hang in there.
The advantage was to McGee.
McGee is the only driver other than Greg Ray. Single race. McGee is waiting to the end to take the lead, but he's in quite a battle with Sharp to the end. Let's see if he can finish it.
We're back live now at Texas, where we were bothered by bad weather virtually since Thursday, and then we understand there was some bad weather on the East Coast that didn't allow you to see the closing laps of what was one of the most incredible races I have ever seen anywhere. We're going to show you now the closing laps of this race here at Texas. Wheel to wheel.
Wow.
In the corner.
Nice job.
McGee has got him. McGee has got him by a half a car length. Can he pull away?
No, he hadn't pulled it away. I'm not sure he still got him. He doesn't.
Robbie McGee's best finish
You are faster. You got 5 to go.
at Indy in 99.
Well, you see that McGee was able to close it because of the draft, but now once he gets side by side, it equalized them quite a bit.
5 more, hang in there.
The advantage was to McGee at the line.
Bob, and with that lead, Robbie McGee is the only driver other than Greg Ray to have led a lap in every single race. McGee has waited to the end to take the lead, but he's in quite a battle with Sharp to the end. Let's see if he can finish it.
Got 4 more. Set him up.
Texas Motor Speedway has a real battle going on for the lead here. Scott Sharp and Robbie McGee are going at it. And as they come down, they'll complete lap 205.
Get around him. Get around him. Get around him.
Greg Ray has just blown up. And that could cause a caution.
Gotta go.
No, I think he's got it down.
Keep going.
They can't go yellow here.
Keep going.
They will not. We are still green.
This is unbelievable. Robbie was able to catch him real easy, but once he's caught him, he's lost the draft side by side, and now he's having a real struggle last lap.
Next time it'll be the white flag. We got 2 to go. Will it be Scott Sharp or Robbie McGee at Texas? McGee loses a little bit of momentum. Maybe he's hanging back for a final charge here in the last lap.
Work outside.
Well, look at him. He can't decide which way to go.
Not there. You still got
They
him.
head for turn number 3. Scott Sharp has the advantage as they come down for the white flag. 1 to go. 1.5 miles left at Texas. McGee heads for the high side. Oh, we're so close going into turn 1.
He got a little run going in, but that low side is...
We're on the last lap of the race. The last lap of the race. A half a lap to go. McGee and Scott Sharp battle for the lead and the win at Texas. They come through the 4 corners side by side. Scott Sharp drives, gets the advantage, and comes down and wins it. Wow! Scott Sharp has become the winningest driver in Indy Racing Northern Lights Series history. His 5th career win, breaking the tie with himself, Ari Lyondike, and Kenny Breck. But McGee was a very close second. Al Unser Jr. came home 3rd, followed by Buzz Calkins and Scott Goodyear. Dismore 6th and a lap down. Lazier, Buddy Lazier, Hattori, Eddie Cheever, and Ayrton Dare. What a race here at Texas Motor Speedway today, won by Scott Sharp. Well, the competition was close all the way through the event, and it came down to about a half a car length. Scott Sharp over Robbie McGee. We show you 11 through 20 now as Stephen Gregoire ended up in 11th position. Sarah Fisher came home in the 12th spot. We've got more coming up next Sunday at Pikes Peak International Raceway at 4 o'clock Eastern on ABC. We will see you then. And now we return you to the conclusion of Outside the Lines. Scott Sharp wins at Texas.